Okay, let's do it. Let's see. We'll give it a few minutes for people to come in here before we get on started. Happy Easter to everybody, by the way. And tell us. Oh yeah, April Fools. Yeah, actually, I wanted to do an April Fools video, but I didn't know what, so I didn't end up doing one. Like I can never fool you guys, man. Seriously, I cannot fool you guys. Like, what would I do for an April Fool's joke? I don't know. I have no idea. Bob Ross. God damn. Mm. Okay. Oh, that's gonna be a good Q&A. They usually always are. They're always pretty fun. It's been a long time since we did one. Well, what was the last time we did one? Yeah, when was the last time we did a Q&A, actually? I don't remember. It's been a while. It's been a little bit. Let's see. Antigonus from Cart Hadashed. How's it going, man? Luke Larkin, hello. Jared Nagy, I hope I'm not pronouncing that wrong. Jared Nagy. Sijic, you the man. Let's see what times are now. All right, so it's just officially 12, so people should be coming in just a second. I wonder if I should make an announcement in the community post. I don't know. Nah, we'll just leave it probably. People know we're live, so I won't spam anything. Although it is Easter, so a lot of people are probably like doing stuff with family or something. I don't know. I mean, like some people in the United States, we celebrate Easter. Not much though. Like I don't know. I know what it is. It's just I never, I don't celebrate it. Let's see, Boogers. What's going on, man? Cedric, you're playing EU4 with you in the background. That's good, man. You'll get my commentary even when I'm not playing EU4. Let's see. Swinglish, dude. How's it going, man? Luke Larkin, face reveal at 20,000 subs. Yeah, this is a mask. This actually isn't me. I probably could have kept my face hidden for a long time, but I don't know. I've actually always liked doing things with face cam and like personal one-on-one videos and things like that. I've always felt that was just something to bring people closer on the channel. Let's see. Swinglish dude says, in Sweden, we actually celebrate both Easter and Christmas the day before. What? Really? That's kind of cool. I mean, like, no, we don't actually really celebrate Christmas Eve here. Like, on Christmas Day, people will be closed and not do anything, and no, stores will be open, stuff like that. Unless it's a really important store, but, like, Christmas Eve is basically just, nobody cares. Yeah, nobody really cares. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. All right. Well, it's technically officially 12, so if you guys want to start asking questions, we'll just kind of get into it. 2 years on YouTube. Holy shit. Technically, I did start in February 2016. How's it going, Dragon King? Technically, I did start in February 2016. It wasn't necessarily April. The reason why I do April 1st as my anniversary for YouTube is because that was when I got my first desktop. My first like desktop workstation was in April 2016. So that's when I like technically started doing videos. But I mean, like the channel's changed a lot in the last 2 years. So it actually is kind of crazy that it's 2 years. Jesus. I mean, that first year, that whole year of 2016, you know, we weren't that large. Like we had like less than 2,000 subs. It was 2017. That was like the year. You know, we got from like 2,500-ish subs to like I think it was 14,000 at the end of 2017. And then, you know, we just recently got to 15,000. That was really not that long ago, actually. Thanks, Luke. I appreciate it, man. Luke Larkin, congrats on the 2 years. Thanks, man. Let's see. Is this some sort of April Fool's thing? Nah, dude. That's funny because most people think like, hey, dude, this is April Fool's, like 2 years on YouTube, but no, it's not. Actually, it is the truth. You know, I would have loved to do a 2 years or an April Fool's thing, but I just didn't. I don't know. Yeah. So whenever you guys have some questions, anything you guys want to know, feel free. Although I tell you guys a lot about me anyway, so I don't know. Maybe you guys don't have any questions. Who knows? Maybe you guys have no questions. Everybody's probably busy anyway. Let's see. Interesting. When did we hit 15,000? When was that? I think that was just a couple days ago. Yeah, 15,000 subs. Let's see. Booger says, "Do you play Fortnite?" No, I do not. I'm not a big fan of Battle Royale. I actually heard that Fortnite is better than PUBG, which is interesting because PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is really, really popular. I think it's more because of the streamers and shit that's been playing it on Twitch. Everybody on Twitch streams and shit like that. Everybody wants to be the next big PUBG streamer, I guess. So no, I don't play Fortnite. I have friends who want me to play it, but I've never done it. Yeah. Luke Larkin says, "What have you got planned for your channel's immediate future?" Well, right now we're still wrapping up the Rule Britannia campaign as Scotland. We're wrapping up the Rule Britannia campaign as Scotland. I was gonna do a few Victoria 2 tutorial series. I did a poll yesterday. Most people want to see HFM either as Sweden or Brazil. So we'll actually probably end up doing both. The thing is this school quarter is going to be really, really busy. I'm actually going to be, I have an internship. Actually, I got an internship and then I have classes still as well. So I'm going to be pretty busy. Yeah, I'm going to be pretty busy. I don't know. I might have to cut down the Victoria 2 a little bit. Maybe. I have a lot of the Europa Universalis IV Rule Britannia campaign recorded, but I'm not sure about Victoria 2. I might have to cut down on that a little bit. But yeah, Victoria 2, Empire Brazil, and Sweden. And then we're doing the Rule Britannia campaign for Scotland, and then we're going to be wrapping that up. Once that's wrapped up, we're going to do the Netherlands. We'll be playing as the Netherlands. And then anything else we're going to do? I don't know, we got a lot to do. I don't know. There's many different things we could do. So but that's like for the immediate future. Let's see. Kiss says, "Do you secretly have a copy of Victoria 3? Yes. Antigonus says, "Have you ever played any titles of the Stronghold series?" You know, it's funny. No, I think I own the Stronghold series on Steam. Do I? Oh, no, maybe I don't. Yeah, maybe I don't. Yeah, no, I haven't. I've never really played Stronghold. It's never been my thing. I don't know. I've heard about it. I've heard it's cool, but I've never played it myself. Yeah, I've never played it myself. Dragon King says, "Do you play Counter-Strike?" Yes, I do. I actually might have a Counter-Strike video coming out on the channel this week. I played a match. No, I played 2 matches yesterday with some coworkers, and dude, I did really fucking good. Holy shit. I got like 46 and 18 or something like that. I was carrying pretty fucking hard in both those games. I get hell mad when I play Counter-Strike. Like, Counter-Strike's pretty serious to me, so I get kind of mad, so I don't like to play it too much, but I'm pretty good at the game, I'll admit. I'm pretty good at the game. I've been playing Counter-Strike for a long time. I played like CS 1.6, man. I played that when I was a little kid, and then Counter-Strike Source came out. I played Counter-Strike Condition Zero for the Xbox 360, or for the Xbox, the original Xbox. I played the original Counter-Strike for the Xbox. Yeah, that was a long time ago. When was that released? Like 2004? Yeah, so no, I played a lot of Counter-Strike in my time. I didn't play Counter-Strike Source that much. I played CS 1.6, and then I played Condition Zero for the Xbox, the original Xbox, back in like 2004, 2003. And now I play CSGO every now and again. It's fun to play. I'm pretty good at it. But like I said, I don't try to play it too much. So English Dude says, are you going to make that movie channel? And if so, when? I would love to, but I just don't have the resources or the time to do it. Like, I have so many different ideas that I want to do with YouTube. Like, I want to make a music channel where I do like vocal covers and like guitar covers and, you know, all that kind of stuff. A movie channel for sure, analyzing movies, talking about movies, like a movie review channel. I'd love to do that shit. I wanted to be a film director when I was in high school. I actually applied to go to UCLA, the University of California, Los Angeles' School of Film. I got rejected from there actually, so I didn't get in. But honestly, like my life would probably be different if I got into that school. I might have actually gone to film school instead of gone to UC Davis here. And who knows? Maybe I'd be working in the movies now. I don't know. Who knows? Yeah. So I'd love to do the movie channel. I'd love to do a music channel, but I just don't have the time with school, and especially with the videos for the gaming channel. Like I just don't have the time or the resources to do it right. You know. It's kind of a shame. It really is. It's kind of a shame. I wish I had more resources and more financial backing and shit to do all this, but you know, it's just the way it goes. You just have to allocate resources carefully. Let's see. Jomp says, would you like the Victoria 3 get released? Yes, absolutely. Victoria 3 is probably the biggest game that I'm hoping for from Paradox. A lot of people say they won't do it because they can't. Because they can't find somebody with the leadership on the team to push Victoria 3 into being made. I don't know. I don't believe that. I think they're trying to hype the game up because when Victoria 2 was released way back in 2010, it didn't sell very well. It wasn't necessarily a big success financially. So they had to go to other mediums to make money. Crusader Kings 2 was one of those. Crusader Kings 2 was one of those. So Victoria, yeah, I would love Victoria 3 to get released. That would probably be the new game on the channel for us to play if it was released. I think they're actually making it. It's either Victoria 3 or it's Europa Universalis Rome 2. It's got to be one of those two. They're making one of those or some sort of new IP. If it's not any of those, then I don't know. I mean, like, Europa Universalis is cool. Crusader Kings 2, Crusader Kings I'm actually not that interested in. Hearts of Iron 4 sucks. Stellaris was a letdown for me. It wasn't what I expected. As a 4X game, I don't know. I wasn't impressed. Yeah. So Victoria 3 would be cool. Let's see. Amused Chinchilla says, do you play War Thunder? No, I do not. I have friends that play War Thunder. I don't play it myself, though. Mr. Smart Donkey. He says, would you go gay for me any day? Let's see. Kiss says, do you think a gameplay of Albania and Victoria 2 would be interesting? I think any game in Victoria 2 is kind of interesting just because the time period of it. Albania in particular. I mean, Albania doesn't exist at the start of the game. So, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it'd be cool. Any game would be cool, really. It's just there's a level of difficulty about it that's like some countries are easier than others, and it depends on the way you play, though. I don't know. It's one of those things. It's one of those things. Luke Larkin says, why don't you try doing achievement videos for EU4? Well, technically, every campaign that we do in EU4 is actually for an achievement. I usually mention it in the first video. Like in our Rule Britannia campaign right now, besides just trying things out, I'm actually trying to go for the Master of India achievement. I don't know if we'll actually get it, probably. We're probably going to have to truce break in order to get it. But I don't want to, I don't want to have any spoilers for the campaign, but, yeah, so every campaign that we do on the channel is usually for an achievement of some kind. Usually. Let's see. Alex20CM says, will you play as Carthage in Rome 2 Total War? Probably not, no. I mean, unless somebody donated or something and wanted me to do it. I don't know. I haven't touched Rome 2 in a long time. It's not really popular on the channel. The Empire Divided campaign was pretty popular, but it got really stale really fast. Playing Rome 2, especially with the Empire Divided, it was just, I don't know. The game mechanics and stuff, they really don't hold up after all this time. They really don't. Jomp says, what's your favorite music genre? Probably rock. I would say alternative rock or alternative metal is what I do. I play the electric guitar, I can sing, I play the drums, and I can play a little bit of bass. So rock is absolutely my favorite genre of music. Let's see, Kiss says, the new Nostalgic Critic doing film reviews. Yeah, that'd be cool. Like, actually, it's funny you mention that. It's funny you mention Nostalgic Critic because that's actually one of the things that I would do on my film channel is talking about movies that are really obscure that nobody's really watched, nobody's really talked about in a long time. There's like mainstream movies, but I'm concerned with like old films, like really old school films, you know? So I'd love to do that. That'd be cool. Let's see. Mr. Smart Donkey, I expected nothing less. Congrats on the 2 years, bud. Thanks, man. Take care of yourself. Let's see. Amused Chinchilla says, have you ever wanted to do a series on Hearts of Iron 3? Yes. Believe it or not, I've actually wanted to do a Hearts of Iron 3 series. I've never gotten around to it. I know Benjamin Magnus, he does a lot of Hearts of Iron 3, so if anybody ever wants to see him, or if anybody wants to see Hoi 3, they go to him. I don't think I have anything that he can't provide, so I just let him do that. I've never really thought my take on it would be any different. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, I've thought about it. I've never done it. Let's see, Argonian Maid. Hello. Let's see, some guy's name I can't pronounce. Can you play Ottoman in EU4? I think we've done like 2 Ottoman campaigns now, right? Let me try it. That's interesting. We've played as the Ottomans before. We've done it. We have a Sultan of Rum campaign. Actually, it's funny when I type it into the YouTube chat or when I type it into YouTube search, you actually don't get it. Let me see here. I may have to change the tags on this series. Let me take a look at that. Yeah, I may have to change the tags on those. Interesting. Let's see. Antagonist, if you like space strategy games, I suggest you try Endless Space 2. I've actually played Endless Space 2 on the channel. I've played it before. I wasn't impressed, but when we played it, it was early access, so I should give it another try. It's a pretty cool game. When I played it, it was a really beautiful game, but I don't know. I should play it again, probably. Let's see. Jaroslav Joss says, what features would you like to see greatly changed in Victoria 3? That's a good question. I would say the warfare system. Like, if it was more like March of the Eagles, or I don't want to say Hearts of Iron 4. I think Hearts of Iron 4 would be too complex for Victoria 2. But I would say if it was more like March of the Eagles, like you have to worry about supply, you have to worry about cannons, you have to worry about like light infantry, like a difference between light infantry, heavy infantry, things like that. If it was more like March of the Eagles combat system, I would say that'd be pretty cool. And like having different flanks, maybe you have to have like different generals for different flanks. That'd be pretty sweet. Other than that, honestly, a lot of Victoria 2's features actually still do hold up. I mean, the diplomacy system might be used. Well, yeah, the diplomacy system, you could probably use a little bit of leeway. You could probably change it a little bit. But overall, I actually think that the game holds up pretty well for being as old as it is. I mean, that game was released. Victoria 2 was released almost 10 years ago. I think for a game, it still holds up really good, to be perfectly honest. So, yeah, I don't know, but probably the warfare system and maybe a little bit of diplomacy. That's about it, though. That's all I can think of. The economy system should stay the same as much as it possibly can, I would say. Let's see. Alex 20cm says, do you like Empire Total War or Napoleon Total War? I love both those games. They're a little dated now, though. If there was gonna be like a remaster of those games, that'd be pretty cool. They're kind of dated. Well, you know, Napoleon's actually not that dated. You can actually play Napoleon and it actually works out fine. It's just there's features and stuff that have been added to the Total War franchise that just kind of aren't in Empire Napoleon anymore. You know, honestly, the Total War franchise is actually kind of a hit and miss for me. It's a love-hate relationship. I love the games and I love the features, but especially when you play stuff like EU4, Victoria 2, you realize that the Total War franchise is just very, very basic. It's very simple, you know, and it's just not as, like, I don't know what the word would, I guess sandboxing, I guess you would say. I don't know, yeah, maybe it's just not sandboxing enough for me. I love to play a country in EU4 or, like, Victoria 2 and just do something with it. But in Total War, it's less, you know, it's less free, it's less open, you know, and things are simplified and things are streamlined. And it just kind of gets old. You get kind of tired of it after a while. I don't know. And then like the AI, just the amount of bonuses and things that happen to the AI that don't apply to the player. I don't know, man. It's just, there's something about it. It's just a love-hate relationship. That's why we don't really play Total War on the channel anymore. I just don't find that much fun in actually playing it. It's just not that enjoyable. I mean, it's cool, but at the same time, it's not. I don't know. That's just me. I don't know. Let's see. Jomp says, I like the Hearts of Iron 4 series, but I think the Hearts of Iron 4 is very easy and stupidly easy. I think it's just stupid. You know, I think with the AI and all the features and it's well made. It's a well made game. There's a good production value in it, but I don't know. I don't. There's just something about it. I'm not sure if you could call it a strategy game. That's what I think is a problem with Hearts of Iron 4 is I'm not sure if you can call it a strategy game because basically no matter what country you are, you kind of do the same things. You have to build factories and, you know, conquer people and all sorts of shit. It's not sandboxy, you know, it's not you pick a country and you make your, you know, destiny, you make your own destiny. That's not how Hearts of Iron 4 is. And I would argue that there's not so much strategy involved, especially with the national focus system. There's just a lot of winning around. So I really don't. It doesn't give me a reason to care, you know, like why care? Why, you know, that's just kind of what I've always experienced with Hearts of Iron 4. Amused Chinchilla says, what's your favorite nation in EU4 and Vicky? I'm not sure if I have one. I don't really do favorite nations. I mean, if I had to pick like a really enjoyable country that I've played as, and say EU4, I would say, I'm not gonna lie, our Royal Britannia campaign right now is pretty fun. I haven't had that much fun in a long damn time. Because we're trying to recreate the British Empire. It's a pretty good time. It's a pretty enjoyable experience, I gotta admit. Let me see. Yeah, I don't think I have a favorite. I don't think I have favorite nations. If I had to pick maybe like one of the most enjoyable experiences I've ever had with Victoria 2, playing as the Ottomans is a really good time. I would say playing as Egypt is also pretty fun. And then, you know, actually, you know, playing as Japan in Victoria 2 was a really good time. Playing as Japan. Actually, in Victoria 2, Japan might be my favorite country. It's a really enjoyable time. Yeah. Let's see. Luke Larkin says, when are you gonna try the Three Mountains achievement? I don't know, actually. I've tried it before on my own a few times. It's pretty fucking hard. I'm not much of a world conquest guy, and min-maxing stuff is just something that I don't really do as heavily as somebody like Fleur or something. So, I don't know. Let's see. Job says, would you do Lebensraum in Victoria 2's Prussia or other German states? Probably not. No, I like to play really historical, usually. Let's see. Kiss says, Adrian, the amount of knowledge you have on the history is disgustingly rich. Every time I start watching one of your series, you should you know, or you know should much about, you know. I think he says you know much about the nation you're playing. It's insane. Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that. I mean, I study this shit for, you know, education, so hopefully I know something. Let's see. Snap to Can Mapping says, good day. Good day, sir. Thank you for coming by live stream. Let's see. Jaroslav Joss says, thanks for the answer. Polish Victoria done well. Will sell like hotcakes, but as a student, I fear the DLC policy. As a student? I mean, I'm a student too, man, but, well, yeah. No, yeah, because I mean, I look at the whole DLC policy in a different way because I get all the expansions and shit for free. I don't pay for them. Paradox gives them to me for the purposes of review. So, okay, I can see you're concerned about the DLC policy. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Let's see. Echoes Zulman says, hi, Adrian. Hello, dude. Thanks for coming by live stream. I appreciate it. Let's see. Paul Connell says, congratulations on 2 years, Adrian. Thank you very much. It's been an experience, I'll admit. It's not as easy as you guys think. You know, it's not as easy as you guys think. We've had a lot of success, though. We really have. We've had a lot of success, but it is difficult. It is difficult. Now, I think, because we have more subscribers, there's more, it's what I call momentum. There's more momentum. There's more people watching. There's more people, you know, donating, all sorts of stuff like that. So it's nice. Let's see, Luke Larkin says, I'm playing Japan at the moment in EU4. It's definitely my favorite. Yeah, we did a Japan campaign for Mandate of Heaven. It's a really good time. It's really fun. Let's see, Prussian Man says, why don't you play Hearts of Iron 4? I don't like the game. I don't like the game. It's too abstract. It doesn't give me a reason to care. Let's see. The Solix says, hi, Adrian. Hello. How you doing? Let's see. Snap to Can Mapping says, how was your experience when you first started to play EU4? It's funny, actually. I started playing EU4 in like late 2015, a little bit before I actually started my YouTube channel in 2016. I watched a lot of Arumba, actually. I remember watching Arumba's Japan campaign, and I just made the decision, I have to get this game. I need to play this game. Yeah. It was let's see, that was in 2015. So the game was pretty far in development by then, in 2015. So I mean, I don't know, I've always enjoyed it. I always enjoyed it. I think with the expansions and stuff, though, there's been a lot of features that necessarily haven't been I don't know, well tailored, I guess you could say. There a lot of people complain that there are features in EU4 that don't really expand the game in any way. They're just kind of there. Like they're an added complexity that isn't necessary. I don't know. Maybe it's true. I don't know. There's some features that I really just don't care about very much. Maybe the estates is one of them. Estates are usually not too big of a deal for me. I usually just worry about like the burgers, put them on the centers of trade, and that's about it. I don't know. I take monarch points when I can, you know. But and like development and things like that. Like people usually say sometimes that those features are an afterthought. They weren't necessary to the game, so they're just kind of bloating up the game. I don't know. Yeah, that's always been my experience with EU4. I mean, I've always thought it's a cool game. It's fun. It's a fun game. Let's see. Antigonus says, I'm looking for a game where you have politics and diplomacy actions like EU4, but with unit management and battles like Total War. A game like that probably will never exist because they're fundamentally antithetical. You know, politics and diplomacy and grand strategy, grand sort of, I guess, mechanics are opposed to something like unit management and battles like Total War. Like as far as like fighting on a battlefield, moving troops around, you know, the amount of time that it would take to play a game like that, to get good at it, to develop it, to tweak it, just, we're talking just an incredible endeavor that probably nobody will ever do. You know, it's kind of like trying to do everything, and so you do nothing well, you know, whereas Total War, they do battles really good. And then I would say Paradox does, at least in certain games, you know, the grand strategy elements of strategy, right? Diplomacy, politics, internal, economics, things like that. They do that stuff really good, but battles and stuff are pretty simplistic, I would say. Actually, Antigonus, you should check out March of the Eagles. March of the Eagles, there is something about it that I think needs to be... I think maybe, I might even do a video on this shit. March of the Eagles is that kind of game that can get politics and diplomacy and internal mechanics mastered with battles. Because March of the Eagles has armies that have 4 different flanks, center, left, right, and reserves. You have to worry about supply. You have different infantry types, light infantry, heavy infantry, guards, cuirassiers, dragoons, chevaliers, Jaegers, shit like that. And each army that you create in March of the Eagles, is its own force. You actually have even your own unique admirals and generals per flank, It's like the Crusader Kings 2 military system plus EU4. EU4 is like diplomacy system. If I had to say there was a balance between politics and the unit management and battles, I would say March of the Eagles is probably one of them. I'll probably do a video on that, actually. Let's see. Thomas Bucco plays CK2 at some point. Honestly, I'm not a big CK2 guy. I just don't enjoy it very much. I don't know. Feudalism has never been... I like feudalism. I like the history of it and shit like that, but actually playing Crusader Kings 2 is kind of a lackluster experience for me. And see, Jump says, I discovered this channel recently during the Scotland series, but it actually liked me a lot. Your way to comment, it's awesome. Thanks, man. Let's see. Prussian Man says, what is your opinion on DBZ? I think you mean Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z was my childhood, man. Fucking love that shit. Let's see. Alex20CM says, what is your opinion about Russia and EU4? I don't really have one. We played, when Third Realm was released, we played as Novgorod. That was a really, really enjoyable campaign. That was probably one of the most fun campaigns I think I've ever done in EU4. So, that was a really good time. Forming Russia as Novgorod. Oh man, that was fucking awesome. Let's see. Jump says, what's your job? Well, YouTube's a job technically. And then I'm a full-time university student. And then I work part-time for the university's dining services. I'm one of the managers of some of the restaurants over here. So, I work pretty much every day, which kind of sucks. Except for weekends. I don't work weekends. YouTube and school is what I do on weekends. During the week is I go to class and then I work part-time as a manager. Let's see. Kiss says, I think Victoria 2 is the best Paradox game. Sadly, people never pay attention to it and only focus on Hearts of Iron 4 and EU4. Yes, that's my opinion too. I actually do think that Victoria 2, I think Victoria 2 is Paradox Development Studios' masterpiece. I don't think they've ever actually surpassed Victoria 2 as far as a game. Not even EU4 beats it. It really doesn't. Because one of the things about Victoria 2 is, at least what I like to call, I would call it dynamism or dynamics, I guess you could say, is that you can start in 1836 and you can end in 1936, and in that 100 years, you could do literally nothing, just fucking nothing. Don't even click anything. And your country is going to be different in 1936 than when you started in 1836. With no player interaction. You can just leave it. Just let the game run. Just do it. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to fight any wars. You don't have to do anything. Because of the way the economy works, the way that people work, and all that stuff. No other game can really do that, I don't think. EU4 can't do that. Hearts of Iron 4 can't do that. Maybe a little bit, but Hearts of Iron 4 is a war game. It's historically, or it's fundamentally a war game. And actually, kind of in the same way, EU4 is a war game. You're meant to declare a war. You're meant to fight wars. That's just what the game is about. It's so centered on warfare that's what it's about. Victoria 2 is not like that. Victoria 2 is not a war game. It's a simulation game. They claim it's an economic simulation game with grand strategy elements in there. So, that's why I think Victoria 2 is a masterpiece, is you can literally just be at peace for 100 years and your country will be fundamentally different than when you started the game. Not any game can do that. you know, and it's really, really cool. Let's see. Jump says, what's the best and the worst DLC in EU4 in your opinion? I would say the best. Either probably Art of War or maybe Common Sense. I would say Art of War or Common Sense. The development system's a pretty big deal. The worst DLC? I would probably have to go with Conquest of Paradise. It was pretty useless. Even after Conquest of Paradise, nobody plays the American natives at all. Just none. You know, I know I don't play them. I don't think I've ever played a Native American nation ever. It's just so much waiting around. Let's see. Danius Grigas says, can you play Canolis Lithuania? I don't even know what that is. I think he means Catholic Lithuania. I don't know. Let's see. Brandon Parnell, what's your favorite genre of music? Alternative rock or alternative metal? Let's see. Prussian Man says, what do you study at university? I study political science, and I have a minor in history. Let's see. Alex20cm says, what was your hardest campaign in EU4? Oh, Byzantium. That Byzantium campaign, especially towards the end, was a bitch. Trying to form the Roman Empire? Oh my god. Dude, it was a bitch. I thought Albania or Iberia was one of the hardest campaigns I've ever done, but no, I think it was that Byzantium campaign, man. Such a bitch. Let's see. Luke Larkin says the only way I can play Hearts of Iron 4 is with the Black Ice mod. Interesting. Let's see. Jomp says the Rebels of Victoria 2 are like bunnies. It's funny because the Rebels in Victoria 2, they actually are real people. Like, your population will decrease the more rebels you kill. In EU4, that's not the case. The people don't come from anywhere. They don't exist, you know? They're just rebels. Quote, quote, rebels. So, it's funny you say that they breed like bunnies. Now you know how historical countries feel. Let's see. Worst DLC in EU4 is that Swedish garbage music. I hate that Swedish music, dude. I leave it on just because I know it makes people laugh when they hear it, but let's see. Echo Zulman says, have you ever tried to make a Jewish controlled nation in Victoria 2? I don't believe you can. There is no Jewish controlled nation. There is no country in Victoria 2 that has Judaism as a majority religion. Yeah, no. Yeah. So I don't think you can. I think probably the closest that it would come to would be probably Ethiopia. I think Ethiopia has a pretty sizable Jewish minority. They have Sephardic Jews and no, I think it's just Sephardic Jews. I think Germany has Ashkenazi Jews, but there would be no majority Jewish country. No, I don't think so. I'm not even sure if there's an Israel or a Palestine or anything like that. I don't think so. Let's see. Danius Rodriguez says, can you later try to play EU4? I think he means colonialist Lithuania. Colonialist Lithuania. That'd be a pretty hard campaign, I would say. Well, no, not necessarily. I've got a few ways you could probably do it. Because what you can do is you can play as Lithuania, don't ally Poland, and you declare war on Denmark, and you transfer the Norway personal union, you transfer to yourself as Lithuania. You could probably keep them loyal. Yeah, colonial Lithuania. Yeah, you can do that. Let's see. Can you the Ottomans at EU4 Robert? Why does everybody want to see me play the Ottomans? I don't get it. We already have an Ottomans campaign on the channel. But well, I don't know. Maybe I'll do like a tutorial series or something like that. Yeah, one of these days I guess we'll play the Ottomans or something. It's not really high on the roster right now as campaigns. We're almost certainly going to play the Netherlands as our next campaign. Let's see. Job says, does the religion have any influence in Victoria 2 states? Yeah. So religion, basically the majority of your people will follow a certain religion, and if you are not part of the majority religion, you're like less likely to convert to your culture, because you know there's accepted cultures and then there's non-accepted cultures. If you guys all follow the majority religion, your people are happier. They're like less. There's less unrest, basically. So you know if you had a country that's like 50% Protestant, 50% Catholic, then I think whichever is the absolute majority religion, those people are happy and the others are not. They have a little bit more unrest compared to everybody else. At least that's as far as I know. But it doesn't play a huge role. Like there's no sort of state religion that doesn't really exist. Um, the thing is, in Victoria 2 is the different political parties, they have stances on religion. You could either have government support for religion or you can have complete atheism. Is that there's actually a suppression of religion. So, say you're a communist party and you have atheism as your religious policy, everybody who's religious, who's like deeply religious, will be mad at your party. Everybody who's atheist, who agrees with atheism, won't. You know. Let's see. Let's see. What is the easiest campaign you played in EU4? We did a Spain campaign a while back. We did a Spain campaign a while back. That was pretty easy. It's just kind of, colonialism stuff. It's pretty easy. Playing as Russia is pretty easy. Russia is pretty easy. It's just super simple, you know. Echo Zulman says, "Have you ever created the Danubian Federation in HFM?" No. I think maybe we will do that. We're gonna play an Austria campaign one of these days in Victoria 2. I don't know. People might want to see the Danubian Confederation. I'm not sure. Let's see. Danius Grigas says, "What in EU4 is better, Poland or Denmark?" What do you mean by better? Like, do you mean like? Do you mean like like power wise or like funness, enjoyment factor? What do you mean? Is a Prussian man opinion on Call of Duty? I fucking hate Call of Duty. Battlefield all the way. Let's see. James 19 says USA. I thought you were English. Holy shit, he thought I was English. Oh man, I'm from the USA, man. Let's see. Kiss says, "I started a Russia gameplay in Victoria 2, and what can I do to provoke communists to rise up and take control? I know I can go socialist and then choose communism, but I want the flag to change." No, you have to have the communists enforce a proletarian dictatorship revolution on you. So you have to research socialism and communism and then promote communism so that communist rebels will rise up. And then if they sit on your capital, I believe for 30 days, then you change. That's the revolution. Yeah. Have I ever created the Chinese Empire in EU4? No. Yeah. Let's see. Danius Grigas says, "Would I recommend playing EU4 Poland or Denmark?" They're pretty easy campaigns. I mean, if you want to do the Danelaw achievement with Denmark, that's a pretty fun campaign. Poland is pretty cool too, but like Poland's really easy. There's not too much of a challenge to Poland. It's very railroaded. Let's see. Prussian Man says, "Have you ever watched an episode of Geography Now?" Yes. Let's see. Koos von Dommelen says, "Have you ever done a world conquest?" No. Let's see. Echo Zulman says, "Is it possible to create a communist papal state?" Yeah, it is. Anything's possible in Victoria too. You have to know how to manipulate the people. Let's see. Chowdary 1989 says, "Is this an April Fool's stream?" No, man. This is a 2-year anniversary. 2-year anniversary for YouTube. April 1st is technically my YouTube anniversary for YouTube. Let's see. Antigonus from Cartadoshed says, "Have you already done a tutorial series for Victoria 2? As in, have I started recording it?" No. I'm actually probably going to record it after this. Have I ever done one before? No. No, I never have. Let's see. Have I ever played as Morocco in Victoria 2? No. Alex 20cm says, "Have you ever played as an African nation in EU4? I play as Ethiopia. I play as a Mamluks. Ethiopia, we played as a Mamluks. I think those are actually the only countries that I probably ever played as that are technically African. with capitals in Africa. Yeah. I think that's about it. Let's see. Antigonus means, I mean, also a tutorial for advanced mechanics too. Well, for the tutorial series, we're gonna do like the basics, and then as I can, I'm gonna try and dive into specifics a little later. I'm not gonna give like numbers and graphs and stuff. I'm not really. I don't. Well, maybe I will. I don't know. Maybe I will. Jump says, I actually don't know what to study at college. I like history and politics, but my parents want me to study medicine or something like that. What should I do? Well, at least for me, I would say study what you're interested in. Study what you're passionate about. Or even better, study what you're curious about. For me, I've always been curious about history and politics. I always just wanted to learn more, and I could never get enough. I can never get enough information. There's never enough knowledge, you know? So I'll go research something. I'll go research something and go look at something, and then I just dive in and research more about it. Go look at, you know, these people or these events or these dates, and just keep diving on and on and on and on and just keep learning shit. That's how I've learned all my stuff. That's how I knew politics and history is what I'm interested in. I would say study the field that does that to you. If you're interested in like that about medicine or like biology or something or chemistry, do it. But don't get into something that you're not going to be interested in, because honestly, like, yeah, you can have certain skills and certain, you know, practical skills that you can use to, you know, make money or get a job or whatever the hell. But if you're not curious about something, curious about a subject, or you're not really interested in it, you'll never enjoy it. You'll never enjoy it, you know? There's more to life than a little bit of money, you know? Plus, the medical field, really fucking difficult right now. Everybody's doing medicine, and then everybody's doing engineering. Engineering and medicine, in like the next 5 to 10 years, they're going to be some of the most saturated fields on Earth. There's literally going to be too many doctors. There's going to be too many engineers. Not enough need for them, you know? Let's see. Dunconia 217 says, hey Adrian, glad I caught the stream. Love your videos. After the Scotland Great Britain EU4 campaign, are you planning on doing another EU4 campaign? Yes, we're gonna be playing as the Netherlands. Let's see. Chowdary says, what's the weakest country you played in Victoria 2 and did amazing? The weakest country we played as? I mean, I think Egypt is pretty weak at the beginning of the game. Egypt's pretty weak. You have to do a lot of work to get it to be successful. Let's see, Prussian Man says, have you ever played as Abu Dhabi in Victoria 2? No. Let's see, American Zog says, how did you discover Victoria 2? I think I watched Arumba. He had a Sweden campaign. Oh, yeah. I remember that. It was Victoria 2. Arumba did a Sweden campaign, and it inspired me to learn the game. Yeah. Let's see. Have you ever done a world conquest as the Ottomans in EU4? No, I've never done a world conquest. Magno says, what does HFM do in Victoria 2? HFM stands for historical flavor mod. It just adds more flavor to certain countries, like certain events, decisions, things like that. See, Echo Zulman says, is there a Pacific Ocean Empire or something like that in Victoria 2? No. The closest you could do would probably be the Empire of Japan. Yeah, the Empire of Japan. Let's see. Luke Larkin says, I've just finished reading the Book of Samurai, the translated scrolls of Notori Ryu. I would highly recommend it. I would recommend to you watch or read the Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi. Book of Five Rings. It's like the Bible of samurai. Let's see. Danius Grigas, what do you know about Lithuania historical and geographic? I don't know. What do you want to know? I know a lot about Lithuania. You know. Let's see, Kuzvan Domelin says, what do you believe to be the best religion in EU4? What is your opinion about all the DLCs in EU4? The best religion. Catholic is actually up there. Catholic is pretty useful, especially because of the papacy. Orthodox is actually really strong as well. It's either Catholic or Orthodoxy. One of those two. You know what? Actually, Shinto. Really, really strong. Shinto's really strong. I think it's morale of armies plus 10%. as a baseline. We played a Sikh campaign, a nation as or a campaign as Sikh Bamanis. Sikhism is actually a really strong religion because I think it's military technology costs. It's either -5 or 10%, and then it gives you, I think, morale of armies. Yeah. Let's see. And then what do you think about all the DLCs in EU4? I mean, honestly, I might not be the best person to ask because I get all the DLCs from Paradox for free. So I don't know if I'm the best person to ask. I remember that I bought EU4 and Victoria 2. I bought all those games on sale. All of them I bought on sale. I don't pay full price for anything. If I pay full price for a game, I really like that game. I don't think I paid full price for a video game probably since Fallout 4. I think I paid full price for Fallout 4 when it released. I feel bad about that. that's $60 I want back. You know, I can't get a refund, but so maybe I'm not the best person to ask about the DLC policy. I don't know. I get all of it for free. You know, I try and put myself in your shoes as far as a consumer as much as I can. But honestly, I've never really been that disappointed in a DLC, like to the point where it's like, don't buy this at all. But then again, I get all of it for free, so I don't know. Double M says, would you rather see Victoria 3 or Crusader Kings 3 and why? I want to see Victoria 3. I'm not really interested in Crusader Kings and its gameplay. It's a cool game. The history's cool. They did a lot of work with the history, but Victoria 3 is like my shit. Like I love industrialization. I love imperialism, you know, all that stuff. That's my interest. Crusader Kings is not the same thing, you know. Let's see, Chad Aries says, does Ottomans get specific mission trees in EU4? Yes, they do. They do. Frederick Jorgensen says, what do you know and think about Denmark? I know quite a bit about Denmark. What do I think about it? I don't really have an opinion. Denmark's cool. The Kalmar Union. Akos Zolman says, do you like Far Cry 5? I actually have been really tempted to buy it, but I honestly probably don't have the time to play it, so I'm not going to buy it. But it looks really cool. I would play it. Let's see. What is the best Muslim country you'd like to play in EU4? Persia's pretty strong. If you could play a Shia Persia, they're pretty damn strong. Any other countries? Mamluks are pretty strong. Mamluks are pretty strong. I would say Shia though. Shia Persia. Like the Shia religion and then the Persian ideas, oh, dude, they're super, super strong. Like, hell of OP. Yeah. Let's see. Jump says, what's your political ideology? Fascist all the way. Let's see. Dunkoya says, boring question, but how many hours have you put into EU4, Victoria 2? Let me see, actually. Victoria 2. I have 362 hours in Victoria 2. I have 1,300 hours in Europa Universalis IV. And I have 152 hours in Crusader Kings 2. Yeah. Prussian Man says, democracy or monarchy? Monarchy. Let's see. Danius Grigas says, question about Lithuania. What is the capital? Capital is it still Vilnius? Vilnius? I'm gonna have to check that one up. And then 2, what happened in the 1990s? Was the dissolution of the USSR in 1989. Lithuania became independent, as well as Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Belarus, Ukraine. Let's see. Kuma says, will you finish the Half-Life games? I can't finish Half-Life Source. I actually encountered a bug in Half-Life Source that doesn't let me play the game anymore, so we lost that save. That shit pissed me off. I might play Half-Life 2 though. There's a lot about Half-Life 2 I could probably show you guys. Let's see, Preston Garvey. What do you think of Total War? I like Total War, but it's kind of a love-hate relationship with it. Yeah. Let's see, Boogers says, what's your opinion about Albanian history? I don't really have one. I've studied, you know, like mostly the modern day history of Albania I know about, not so much in the past. Yeah, I mean, like, more so the modern history of it. Let me see. Yeah, more so the modern history of it. But I mean, I don't have like an explicit opinion. I don't know. Albania's cool. Scatterbag, and Muhammad Ali, who's the father and mother in Egypt. He was Albanian. So they're really good troops. Albanian soldiers have been renowned in history as really good soldiers. They fought for the Turks a lot. You know, a lot of the best generals and troops of the Ottoman Empire were Turks or were Albanians. See, Double M says, since we were doing this, what do you know about Croatia and Slavic history in general? Um, I know mostly the modern day stuff. Like I studied the Yugoslav wars, Joseph Broz Tito, Croatian history. I've studied what they did during World War II. They were Nazi sympathizers, so I've studied that. Um, mostly the modern day stuff, like 1945 onwards. I know a little bit about. Particularly, I've studied the Yugoslav wars. Was a big deal. Yeah, the Croatian War of Independence, Bosnian War of Independence, the Siege of Sarajevo. Um, and then as far as like I do know like antiquity history, like you know Dalmatia used to belong to like the Venetians. The Dalmatia, that area used to be known as Illyria. Illyrians lived there. The Illyrians are really good pirates and seamen. Um, Illyricum was actually one of the largest and most important regions of the Roman Empire back in that time. Croatia specifically. Let's see. Danius Grigas says, What five world countries would you like to travel? Sweden, Germany, Britain, Canada. I'm gonna go to Canada and Japan, probably. Let's see. Kuma25 says, how much do you know about Hungarian history? I know decent amount ish. Let's see. In the Carpathian Basin was the Avars, and then they were kicked out by the Magyars. The Magyars came in, and then they became Catholic. They were Catholic for a while, and then they were ruled by the Archduke of Austria. The Crusade of Varna did not end well for many of them. I think in the 1300s, I think the king of Poland was also the king of Hungary, and I think he had a claim on Austria, and so there was a big power vacuum there for a while. I think right before the Crusade of Varna, actually, I think the king of Poland was also the king of Hungary, and he died in the Crusade of Varna. I think it was Vladislav III. Yeah, he was king of Poland, king of Hungary, and he died. And that's why at the beginning of the game in EU4 in 1444, Poland and Hungary have an interregnum because he died and he was the king of both countries. And then there's the Kingdom of Hungary, the interwar period between World War I and World War II, the collapse of Austria-Hungary, things like that. Mostly modern day stuff is what I know about. Yeah, and pretty recent. Let's see. Frederick Jorgensen says, "Is there a country you'd like to visit?" Yeah, Japan, Sweden, Canada, Britain. What was the last one? Japan, Sweden, Canada, Britain, Germany. That's what it was. Let's see. American Zog says, "Where is your ancestry from?" My parents are Mexican. They're from Mexico. I was born here, though, in the United States. Let's see. John, would you change something about the American flag? Not a thing. Let's see. Kiss says, "Do you think that Europe is going fascist again?" No. No, I don't think so. Let's see. Prussian Man, have you ever read the Communist Manifesto? Yes. Alex 20cm says, what do you know about Armenia? A decent amount, I guess. Like I said, mostly modern stuff. Let's see. There's a kingdom of Romania at the height of its power right before World War II. There was the independence of Romania after... Well, no. Romania was independent. Yeah. Romania became independent from the Ottoman Empire. Wallachia and Moldavia formed Romania. I think it was the Russo-Turkish War of 1878 to 1879. Yeah, a lot of the Balkans became independent around that time. And then there was the Balkan Wars. I think it was That was like 1911, 1913, I think, was the Balkan Wars. There was like a big shuffling of power between Bulgaria, Romania, Greece, Serbia. Those are the big ones. Let's see. Echoes Woman says, what languages do you speak? I speak English and Spanish. And I know a little bit of Latin because I'm trying to go to law school, so I need a little bit of Latin. Let's see. Do I like Civilization 6? No. In Chowdhury, any plans of doing an Ottoman campaign in Roboternia? No. Let's see. Kiss says, you have way less hours in Tori 2 and you're still way better than me. Let's see. Kus von Domelin says, would you consider going to do a Switzerland in U4? Sure. Luke, you're making a Command and Conquer reference there. That's funny. Let's see. Frederick Jorgensen says, have I studied anything about Denmark besides the Kalmar Union? There's a Kalmar Union. I've studied the Schleswig-Holstein War. It was in 1851. I studied their history during the Napoleonic Wars. They were friends of the French. I studied the Battle of Copenhagen. When was that? 1806? I think it was 1806, around that time. Yeah, I know a little bit here and there. Yeah, Denmark. Vikings. Let's see. Double M says, do you think Trotsky would have started World War II instead of Hitler if he replaced Stalin? No. No, I don't think so. Trotsky was not much of a militarist. Stalin was much more. Yeah. Let's see. Killer Tyrant says, Adrian, why am I so bad at Victoria 2? Like, I'm trying to play the UK and vanilla, and I'm having issues organizing my armies and moving them to Canada to invade the United States. I don't know. I'm going to try and help out a little bit with the tutorial series. I'll try and teach you guys a few things. Let's see. Danius Grigas says, what do you prefer? A, Lithuania, B, India, C, Bosnia, D, Communist Korea, and E, Egypt. None of the above. Let's see. Gar says, what do you know about the Umayyads? Quite a bit. They broke off from... It was the Rashidun Caliphate, Umayyad Caliphate, the Abbasid Caliphate, and then the Ottomans, right? 4 caliphates. Yeah, so they broke off... Or they succeeded the Rashidun Caliphate. There was the Umayyad Revolution. And then the Umayyads were in power. They were an enormous fucking dynasty. And then there was the Abbasid Revolution. And so the Umayyads were exiled to Hispania. That was what, the 800s? Actually, might have been a little before that. Let's see. Magno says, opinion on Kaiser Wilhelm II. He was a moron. Let's see. Frederick Jorgensen, do you speak Mexican? There is no such thing as Mexican, man. Spanish. Let's see. Prussian man, what do you know about the UAE? The United Arab Emirates. A lot of the history of the Middle East is really just a history of what Britain did to the Middle East. So, I mean, there was the Abu Dhabi, there was the Trucial states that were puppets of the British. And then eventually a lot of the Middle East got quote, quote, independence. But, you know. Let's see. American Zog says, what is your opinion on Scottish and Catalonian independence? I don't really have one. I'm not Scottish and I'm not Catalonian, so I'm not really qualified to speak for any of them. I've been to Catalonia before. I went to Barcelona in 2015. And so I spoke to a lot of, Catalan people, and I saw a lot of Catalan flags and shit like that. It's pretty weird. There's a lot of tension over there. It's kind of weird. I know that Catalonia, at least from when I was there, Catalonia doesn't like the United States very much. They see the United States and Spain and NATO as like an American sort of imperialism kind of thing. Catalonia is much more closer to Europe and like European affairs, and even Catalan is pretty related to French and the Occitan language and stuff like that as compared to Spanish. Yeah, so I went there to Catalonia in Barcelona. We went to the Basque Country. The Basque Country is awesome. The Basque people are fucking awesome. If you guys could go anywhere in Europe, dude, go to the Basque Country. I went to Pamplona and I went to Bilbao. Oh my God. It's one of the most beautiful places probably imaginable on earth. Amazing. Fucking amazing, man. So I've been there to Catalonia, and I went to, we were in Barcelona. I was there for about a week. So I don't really have an opinion on it. And then Scottish independence. I mean, I know the history of why Scotland and England are in the United Kingdom, you know. But I mean, I'm not one to speak for if I support them or not. I don't know. It's not me. It's not my place to speak about it. Yeah. Let's see. Luis Caetano says you're gonna play Portugal and Victoria 2? Maybe. Let's see. Corey Sensei says, what is the next historical scenario of Paradox? I hope either Antiquity or Victoria 3. Let's see. Chad Aries says, why don't you try Brandenburg campaign in EU4? We already have a Brandenburg campaign. We've already played it. Alex 20CM says, what do you know about modern day Romania? Quite a bit. You know, after the fall of the USSR, Romania was independent. They're a republic still, right? No, they don't have a monarch. No. Yeah, they don't have a monarch. I know that Romania, they're pretty strong. They're a nice country. I was actually in high school. I was part of the Model United Nations, and the country that I had to represent was actually Romania. Our crisis was the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Fun fact, Romania supports Palestine in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. They don't like Israel. Let's see. Sijik says, what is your opinion on the post-World War I Greco-Turkish War? Do you think Greece had a chance? See, that's an interesting one because Greece for a while did pretty good, but it was actually the great powers of Italy, France, and Britain that really kind of motivated the Turks and the Turkish Revolution, because everybody knew that Italy, France, and Great Britain wanted to divide Anatolia between themselves. Greece included, you know, no shit. Greece was part of the Allies. I think Greece did have a chance. I think it was the Italians, the Brits, and the French that messed it up. That permanently put to rest the Magali idea. Let's see. Double M says, what's your favorite time period of history and why? I would say maybe the Napoleonic Wars. The Napoleonic era, and maybe the ancient era, like the Hellenistic era, like 323 BC or so. Yeah, I love that stuff. See, Butcher says, do you anything about Albanian ancestors? Do you mean like the Illyrians and shit? I think he means, do you know anything about Albanian ancestors? I think that's what he means. Yeah. Let's see. Kuma25 says, how much do you know about what happened during 1444 to 1821? I know a pretty good amount. I mean, I can give you quite a bit of information. Just depends on what you want to know. Like, there's just certain years. There's certain years in that range that if you study politics and history, you have to know these, you know? So like 1453 was the fall of Byzantium. 1492, Columbus discovered the New World. 1517 was the beginning of the conquest of the Aztec Empire by Hernan Cortez. 1527 was the end of the Renaissance and the sacking of Rome by imperial troops of the Holy Roman Empire. There's like Henry VIII in there. 1545. 1545 was the beginning of the Warring States period in Japan. There's also Charles V. Charles V is a big deal in there. When was it? When was the Peace of Augsburg? What, 15? It was the 1550s. Peace of Augsburg was in the 1550s. Let's see what else is in there. There's a whole range of stuff that you just kind of got to know, like big years, you know. Like 1603, 1607 was the founding of Jamestown colony by the English. 1607. 1618 was the beginning of the 30 Years' War. 1648 was the end of it. 1649 was the execution of Charles I of Britain. Ah, it's just a whole bunch of dates. Yeah, I know quite a bit about the period. Yeah. Jomp says, "What do you know about American history in general?" Quite a bit. That's kind of my emphasis in college is mostly American history. So, you know, basically from like 1607, the founding of Jamestown onwards, I know pretty good amount. Um, Mostly modern day stuff though. Mostly modern day stuff. Let's see. What do you think about Suleiman the Magnificent? He was pretty cool. Let's see. Birdmania says, "Who are the good guys of World War One?" Nobody. there were no good guys. You know, it depends. Like that whole narrative of trying to say that World War One was a fight between good and evil. That's a post World War Two thing. There was no good and evil at that time in World War One. People say that Germany and Austria-Hungary and shit were the aggressors, but that's really not necessarily true. Um, it's propaganda. You know, just study the facts, not the biases. Job says, "How was your Spanish?" I'm okay. I get by. I don't speak Spanish too much. I don't never really have a reason to speak Spanish. So, Prussian man, what do you know about Kazakhstan? Only more recent history since their independence from the USSR. I mean, I know stuff about the history there during like the Russian Imperial sort of some of the history there. Not too much about it though. I mean, they're the country is enormous. Kazakhstan and the Central Asian steppes. Yeah. Kuma 25, I ever told you the definition of insanity? Let's see. Killer Tyrant says, "How do you think Austria-Hungary should have handled the assassination of Franz Ferdinand?" I don't know. I mean, they wanted a war. They did. They wanted a war. They probably could have given Serbia an ultimatum that could be reached. You know. So American Zog says, "Who is your least favorite United States president?" Donald Trump's getting up there, but his office isn't his term isn't over yet, so I might have to wait on that. Yeah. Let's see. Kiss says, "What would you say is your favorite Balkan country?" I don't know if I have one. Yugoslavia is pretty interesting. Not gonna lie, Yugoslavia is pretty interesting. Greece is also really cool because Greece has a long history, so Double M. There have been talks of unification between Romania and Moldavia lately. Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, I mean, if you're asking me, I don't really see why Moldova is independent, but that's just me. Let's see. Lex the Graceful Rival says, "I've never seen an EU4 Bohemian campaign. I actually do want to play as Bohemian one of these days. What parts of history are you most knowledgeable of?" I would say probably 1821 onward. I know quite a bit about. Let's see. Do you want to play Ancient Cities in the future? Oh, you mean the new game that was on Kickstarter? Maybe. I don't know. I've checked it out. It seems cool, but I mean, I'm not like crazy about it. Let's see. Joseph Glazerman says, "Hi." Let's see. Birdmania says, "Do you know anything about the Finnish Civil War?" Do you mean the Finnish Civil War after World War One between the Reds and the Whites? And the Whites won? And then there was a Republic of Finland? I think that's what he's talking about. Yeah, Sijic says, "The unification talks have been going on since the 1990s. As Moldavian myself, I can see it happening, but not in the near future." See, like, mostly what I've always thought was that Moldova was independent because of the Russians. The Russians wanted a buffer state between, Romania and Russia. So they created Moldova, you know? Hmm. Let's see, Koro Sensei, do you know anything about the new Ottoman Revolution? Do you mean Erdogan and his changing of the republic from a constitutional parliamentary republic to a presidential republic? Is that what you mean? The new quote Ottoman Revolution? I think that's what he's talking about. Let's see, Alex 20CM, what do you know about the Peninsular War? Pretty much everything. I mean, I studied it, especially during the Napoleonic Wars. I've studied quite a bit about it. Like Portugal left in 1808. That's also the year that Napoleon invaded and occupied Spain. Yeah, Peninsular War, Spain, Portugal, Britain versus France. Yeah. Let's see. Danius Grigas says, "Did you know that Columbus was Lithuanian? He was Lithuanian who traveled to Portugal and then Spain. That is a myth. It's made up. There's actually a lot of evidence to suggest that Columbus may have been Catalan. Actually, they say that he has relatives who have Catalonian ancestry. They moved to Genoa, and Columbus moved to Genoa with them, and later got a job working for the crown of Spain. They actually say that Columbus's relatives, who were Catalan, may have been involved in plots against the Spanish monarchy, and that's why they left to Genoa, is because they feared persecution. He was not Lithuanian. That is false. Let's see. Pressure Man says, opinion on Salah al-Din. Salah ad-Din. He's badass. That guy's really cool. Salah ad-Din ibn Ayyub, I think is his name. Muhammad Salah ad-Din ibn Ayyub, I think is his full name. Let's see. Saucy Pupper says, I love your Tory 2 playthroughs. This Japan one is awesome. I appreciate your content. Looking forward to Brazil, perhaps. Yeah, I think we're going to be playing Brazil as a tutorial campaign. What are your thoughts on South America in general? South America, I've actually studied the history of South American, the South American independence wars, the Wars of Independence. Fascinating fucking history, man. Simón Bolívar, Bernardo Higgins, all that shit is amazing. If you guys want a wild ride, read a book about the South American Wars of Independence against Spain. Oh my God, man. Some of the shit that happens is incredible. Let's see. Jomp says, what do you think would happen if the Russian Revolution didn't succeed? Well, what do you mean by the Russian Revolution? Because there was the revolution in 1905, and then there was the Russian Revolution in 1917. There was the Bolshevik Revolution of that same year. So which one are you talking about? Do you mean as in like Alexander Kerensky and the Whites, if they won? Is that what you mean? Let's see. Double M says, do you think that Austria-Hungary should have become a federation instead of falling apart? Unlikely. If it was a federation, probably Bosnia and Croatia and the rest of the countries would have broken off anyway. Because, Austria-Hungary, I mean, by its name, the monarch was supposed to be, an Austro-Hungarian. So, I don't know. Do I have a favorite formable country? Not really. No, not really. See, Chowd Harry says, who would back on Kashmir dispute between Pakistan and India? Who would back? What do you mean? Like, who supports who? I mean, in India is supported quite a bit by like people like China and a lot of Southeast Asia, a lot of communist and socialist countries. Pakistan is supported by the United States, usually. United States, Britain, they have a lot of the United States and Britain and such, and even like the Russians and stuff. They have a lot of interests in Pakistan. Let's see. Emil Nystrom says, are you a history major? No, I'm a political science major. Kuro Sensei, do you play Total War games? Yes. Dominic Musco says, do you think the Soviets technically won the Winter War? No, because there's a lot of evidence to suggest that the Soviets wanted all of Finland and not just the parts that they said. The fact that they didn't get all of Finland would technically mean that their war goals were not met. American Zog says, would you rather live in Nazi Germany or the Soviet Union? I don't know about either of those, man. Maybe Nazi Germany, but I don't know. Let's see. Do I think Greece and Turkey will go to war? I can't imagine why. I'm not sure that Erdogan would really be able to pull that off. Let's see, Prussian Man, what is your opinion on the von Habsburgs? They were very successful in what they did. Akko Zulman says, what is your opinion about the Kurdish people? I don't really have one. I don't know. I mean, I can probably tell you right now, with the whole ISIS situation in the Middle East, there will be war between the Turks, the Kurds, and the Iraqis. The Iraqis and the Turks do not like the Kurds, and the Kurds are backed by Iran, and the Kurds also control shit tons of territory in Syria and Iraq. There will be war. Mark my words. Let's see. Talking about the Peninsular War, have you read the Sharp books or seen the TV series? No, I don't have TV. I don't watch TV. Let's see. What do I think about the Battle of Kosovo? Do you mean during the Yugoslav wars? Let's see. American Zog says, what U.S. state would you live in besides your current residence? Washington State or Oregon? Awesome. Let's see. Debris Attila says, probably the coolest Q&A I've ever seen. Thanks, man. Let's see. Jump says, the February Revolution. Oh, so what if Alexander Kerensky and the whites had won and not the Bolsheviks? I don't know. I think Russia would be in a different place, honestly. Paulo says, opinion on Transnistria? I don't really have one. I know. Well, yeah, I don't really have one. Let's see. Kuma25 says, do you think changing the borders of the Middle East and Africa with ethnicity in mind, would there be less conflict? Probably not, no. Primarily because, especially in the Middle East, a lot of the borders are really artificial, right? There is no real claim to the land just because somebody's lived there for a long time. At the end of the day, it's about power. It's either you have the power to take land and keep it, or you don't. That's all it is, you know? You can't just say, hey, these people lived here for a long time and so they deserve this land. It just doesn't happen that way, you know? It's about power. It's always been about power, you know? That's what it is. Let's see. Jediah says, I have a good question. Can you increase your E4 UI? I don't watch a lot of videos from you because my eyes start hurting because the UI is so small. Are you watching on a phone screen? Because I got a 1440p monitor now. This monitor here that I'm looking at. So I play in 1440p and then I downscale to 1080. So I can't really make the UI any bigger. Blame Paradox. They don't have scaling UI. Let's see. Hans Holt says Trump equals Jesus. Prussian man, opinion on the Middle East. I think it was better under the Turks. Well, no, not necessarily. Lex the Grateful Rival says, if you had to give one country control of the world, which country would it be? The United States. Alex20cm says, you support the Palestinian or the Israeli cause? I support neither. A lot of people talk about supporting Israel just because of like the history of anti-Semitism and stuff like that, but I don't think backing the Palestinians is the same, is like the more moral position anyway. She's not my girlfriend anymore, but I dated a girl who was Palestinian and she was Catholic. So she's not Muslim. And back in Palestine, basically you have to be Muslim to be accepted. You know, you can't just walk down the street to a Catholic church or something. And so a lot of people say they want to give Palestine back to the Palestinians. The thing is, though, is the Palestinians persecute Christians and shit all the time. There's a lot of Miaphysites over there, Nestorian Christians, Assyrian minorities. I know a girl who's Assyrian. She actually lives over here. She goes to this university. Like, there's a lot of persecution there. There's a lot of persecution by Palestinians, not to mention the Israelis and shit, that doesn't always get media attention, you know? So, like in Israel, the only people that are persecuted are Arabs. If you're an Arab Muslim, like you are like exempted from the draft, for instance, right? You don't have to fight for the Israeli armies and shit like that. Mostly because I think the Israeli army doesn't want to give Arab Muslims military training and military firearm knowledge and crap like that. But Israel also does claim to have religious liberty for, you know, Christians and Assyrians and whoever else, right? So, I don't know. I don't really support either side, though. I don't really have, like, a definitive, like, that's what it is, you know? I'm not that ideological. I'm more realist than that. Lex the Graceful Rival says, do you have a favorite Slavic country? Nah, not really. Let's see. Double M says, an unstable, fully democratic republic or a stable, semi-democratic empire? The empire all the way. Let's see, Nationalist says, it's weird to see people write patriotism when you're from Europe. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Primarily because the word patriot is kind of an interesting word. It comes from the United States. If you're a patriot, you're fighting against the Kingdom of Great Britain. And then it goes to the French Revolution. If you're a patriot, you're for the Republic. And I guess presumably if you're not, you're for the monarchy. So patriot, the word patriot has always had like an anti-government connotation, I would say. I would call myself a nationalist, not a patriot. I'm a big government, strong government sort of nationalist, not like an anti-government patriot, you know? Patriot has a certain connotation to it. Favorite Sabaton song? I actually don't like Sabaton. Let's see. Why Snick01 says, do you think that a European federation is likely to form in the next 50 years? No way. Nuh-uh. Because I'll tell you, that federation will be dominated by Germany. Germany is one of the most powerful countries on Earth. Let's see. Lex the Graceful Rival. Is there any country that is underrated by the historian community? I would probably say a lot of South American countries. Especially after the Wars of Independence. South America gets a bad rap. Yeah, I would probably say South America. I would say Latin America, probably. A lot of people just kind of just dismiss it, like, oh, it's not important, you know. But I think studying, yeah, studying South America is pretty important. Crow Sensei, do I think there's a Cold War between Iran and the Saudis? Of course. American Zog, opinion of King Zod. Zog, that's funny. Let's see. Jump says, do you think the United States really needs the size of the army that it has now? It's not so much the size of the army, because the United States Armed Forces really is not that large. So it's only about 1.4 million. The thing is the amount of money that we spend on the military. It's just fucking enormous. I think we spend right now, I think our current military budget is like $700 billion. $700 billion a year. You know, it's not so much the size, it's the cost. You know, we have the strongest military on Earth. We could do unspeakable things very quickly with the armed forces that we have. I like conscript armies myself. I think, like, when you conscript men to serve in the military and train people and stuff like that, it does something to your society. It brings them together. You know, having a fully professional army, in my opinion, usually is what leads to the subversion of democracy, usually. Because they answer to the head of state. You know, usually anyway. I mean, I don't know. It's hard. I like conscript armies. That's just me. Study Tipu Sultan, the Tiger Masur. Yeah, I know Tipu Sultan. Yeah, Tipu Sultan. Let's see. Lex, the Graceful Rival. Do you have a favorite royal dynasty? The Hohenzollerns are pretty cool. Habsburgs are pretty cool. Let's see. What do you think about Harun al-Rashid? Is he the guy who founded the Russian Caliphate? Let's see. Paolo Bartolucci says, what is for you the most annoying thing in the world? In world politics, and how would you change it? The most annoying thing. I don't know. I would probably say people's faith in democracy. It's pretty annoying. Most people say democracy and like representative government and shit, it's always good, but I don't think it is. I don't think it is. Not always. Let's see. Job says, what about a free city of Jerusalem? I mean, I don't know when that's worked out before. You know, like an international city. I mean, like we do have like microstates like you know, Malta or like Monaco or something like that. You know, Andorra. You know, but a free city, Jerusalem. I think with as much symbolism as it has, I don't think it'll ever be just like its own city. Let's see. What's your opinion on the Transnistrian War? I'm trying to see what war is he referring to. Oh, you mean the one in 1992? Yeah, I don't really have an opinion. I don't mind either way. I don't mind either way. Let's see. What's your position on the latest Russian acquisitions and moves? Definitely, they're worrying. Yeah. The thing is back in the 50s, there was a guy named George Kennan. There was a guy named George Kennan, and he basically came up with a government report about Russia, and he looked at the history of Russia, and he looked at the history of the Russian Empire. You know, even like, you know, the Grand Duchy of Muscovy and things like that, the Novgorodian Republic, and he looked at this huge conglomeration of information, and he basically said in this report, Russia is a naturally expansionist country. They need warm water ports in the east, they need warm water ports in the west. They're surrounded literally on all sides. We're talking thousands of kilometers of borders with just tons of countries, you know, anybody from Mongolia to, you know, all of Europe, Scandinavia, all sorts of stuff. And so this guy, George Kennan, he said that Russia needs to be contained because they're a naturally expansionist country. I would actually probably argue that that position is correct. That actually is the correct position, is that Russian containment, because of their geographical, geostrategic position, is correct. Russia is a country that needs to be contained. So these acquisitions and stuff by the Russians are worrisome, to say the least. You know, Prussian man opinion on the Yemeni civil war. I don't really have one. I mean, there's what is it, the Houthis, right? The Houthis are like Shia Yemeni terrorists or some shit. And then there's the Saudis, and then Iran is backing Yemen. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot. There's a lot going on. I think I already answered this question. Do you think Greece and Turkey will go to war? No way, man. Why would they go to war? There's no way in hell that Greece and Turkey could go to war and Europe would stay on the sidelines. No way. Nationalist says non-renewable energy for all or renewable energy for some. I would say renewable energy for some. You always gotta be out for your own interest first. See, Danius Grigas says, what's your favorite Baltic country? Nah, I don't really have one. Let's see. Alex20cm says, what is your opinion about feminism? I don't really have one. I know feminists. I know like SJWs and stuff. I'm not one myself, but I don't really have an opinion. Let's see. In every country talking about Turkey, Adrian has been on the Turkish side. What's the matter, buddy? You want to bring back the Ottoman Empire or something? On every question about Turkey, I've been on the Turkish side. Is that what I'm saying? Are you sure? I would double check. I mean, I'll admit Erdogan, he's a conniving motherfucker. He's a conniving son of a bitch. But he's done well for himself. I'll give him that. Erdogan's done very well for himself. Prussian man, what would you support Trump if he declared himself as emperor? Oh man, I don't even think I need to answer that question. Double M. Ooh, this is a good one. This is a good one. This is a good one. Do you think America should reform its system of government? And if yes, in what way? I do. I do think America as a parliamentary democracy would be better. But even more so than that, I am a fan of unitary systems. I don't like federalism very much. I like unitary systems. I would argue that a parliamentary unitary system would be better for the United States than a federal system. That's just me, though. I like parliamentary democracy. And I think, especially nowadays with the United States presidency, it's the most powerful, probably, political office in the world. We're talking about the executive of the world's most powerful country. I don't know, man. I think a parliamentary unitary system would be better. Similar to the United Kingdom, to be perfectly honest. Magno opinion on Prussian history. It's fucking dope. Let's see. Lex the Graceful Rival says, is there any reason why you try to have semi-historical borders in your playthroughs? That's just what I enjoy. I don't like to blob. I'm not a blobber. I don't like to blob. Let's see. Echo Zulman says, what do you think about Hungary's migrant policy? I think it says migrant policy. Migrant policy? I don't really know too much about it. Let's see. Carlos Inside, do you think, is there any situation Iran being Zoroastrian if they were dominant in the Middle East? I don't really get the question. If Germans and Austrians want to be patriotic, they are immediately considered Nazis. You're not wrong. Let's see. Jan the Potato, opinion on the Polish and Israeli conflict. The Polish and Israeli conflict? Let's see. Nationalist says, I see nationalists as love of the country and your own folk. Patriots as for love of your country and fellow inhabitants. As you say, the United States is patriotic because the people aren't the same. Well, that's not entirely what it said. I think you're a patriot if you are an anti-government kind of person. Like, usually you use the word patriot if you're revolting against something, you know, some sort of government tyranny or something like that. But if especially during the 1800s, if you look at the word where nationalism was used, you know, like in the French Empire under Napoleon III, especially in Germany, you know, being a supporter of the monarchy, of the empire, and of Germany made you a nationalist. You weren't for, you know, liberty or civil rights or freedom. You were for the expansion of Germany and the betterment of Germany. They're fundamentally different in concept. Here in the United States, we have a fear of, or even an anger, hatred of like government tyranny, right? Like, oh, but big government, government's too large, things like that. So if you are a patriot, you support democracy, freedom, liberty, all that bullshit, and you're against big government, you're against government centralization. I would argue when you're for government centralization, government militarization, control of the government or by the government, or direction of the world or your country by the government, you know, in ways that are not necessarily conducive with liberty, you're probably a nationalist, you know? So like for me, I am a strong central government, big government nationalist kind of guy. One government tells people what to do, they do it for the betterment of the country. That's what I do. You know, I'm not necessarily patriotic. I'm not a small government guy, you know? Let's see. Lex the Graceful Rival says, any predictions for any wars that will happen in the future? Turkey and Iraq versus the Kurds. Potentially Iran versus some country. I want to say Saudi Arabia. That's probably going to happen. Anything else? Possibly something with Russia or China, I would say. Something. Korea, Japan versus North Korea, I would probably say is maybe likely. Let's see. Boudreaux says, what do you think about communist Albania back then? I don't really have an opinion. I mean, I don't like communism, but... Let's see. Danius Grigas says, what would you change if Poland and Lithuania didn't lose the war to Austria, Russia, and Prussia? You mean the partitions? The partitions of Poland? Oh, yeah. He's talking about the partitions of the Commonwealth. What would change if Poland and Lithuania didn't lose the war to Austria, Russia, and Prussia? Well, that's a good question, actually, because the Commonwealth was... The first partition of the Commonwealth happened during the American War of Independence, but I would say if the Commonwealth was still around by the time of, like, the French Revolution, oh, dude, there would be some serious differences in Europe, I would say. Because France, the French Republic, and the Commonwealth probably would have been really, really good friends. Let's see. Kiss says, what's your opinion on the whole North Korea and US thing that's been going on lately? In my opinion, I think Trump is trying to start a war of some kind. I'm not entirely sure what scope, but he wants to start a war because domestic support for Trump is not very high at all. It's like less than 30%. The thing is, when you start a war, you give the executive more power. You give him a reason to consolidate power and consolidate control within the country. So I think Trump is trying to provoke a war with either the PRC or North Korea, one of the two, maybe even Russia, but yeah. And so Trump is trying to figure out a way to, you know, consolidate power in the United States or find a reason to suppress dissent, shit like that. Let's see. Kuma25 says, how would you deal with the migrant crisis in Europe? I don't know. It's a hard question because, you know, a lot of people say that you're right to move around freely. Like, you're right to just move where you want, be where you want, whatever. That's like, people say it's a fundamental human right, right? Now, at the same time, we have to realize just practically, there are things as borders, right? There is things like nationalism and there are things like governments to protect borders and protect the people and their nationalism and shit like that, you know? So I don't know. I think it's kind of hard to talk about the migrant crisis and not get a little into like racist thinking, you know, like to say fundamentally that I don't know, some Tunisian doesn't belong in France or something like that, or some Libyan doesn't belong in Italy. Like that's racism. That's what that is. Now, I don't have a problem with racism. You can be racist all you want, sure, fine. You know, but at the same time, you gotta be, if you're gonna be racist like that, you gotta be willing to withstand criticism, you know, because people will ask you very basic questions. Well, why shouldn't you be allowed to move around wherever you want? You know? So I don't know. Let's see. American Zog. Should California be split in 2 or more states? No. Lex the Graceful Rival says, what do you think that 2 or more countries coming together to form a single nation is so rare nowadays? Mostly because, why do I think that's so rare? Probably because of post-World War II nationalism. Especially like the Nazis in the way that they conquered Europe, they're very imperialistic about it. And so imperialism and conquering territory, vast swathes of territory and you know, administering those territories that were conquered, it's been discredited because of the Nazis. And so a lot of countries really have kind of looked inward. These are our borders. This is our government. This is our country. And that's just kind of how they are. So countries don't come together to have unions and stuff anymore. You know, they're very, very fiercely independent, mostly because the imperialism of Nazism and like, you know, the Empire of Japan and the Kingdom of Italy has been discredited, you know, especially with the decolonization movement of the 50s and the 60s, particularly of the British Empire. Imperialism has been discredited, so nobody wants to give up their country. Nobody wants to come together to have some sort of, you know, have some sort of like federation, you know, or like a European Union, you know. Nobody wants to lose that independence as a country. Let's see. John says, do you think that the democracy is able to survive in the future? Well, which democracy? Which one do you mean? Damn, you guys are quite a bit ahead of me now. Let's see. Do I think World War III is coming? Yes. What do you think about the Islamic Golden Age? It was cool. It didn't last very long, though. Do you like Horizon Zero Dawn? I never really played it. I've watched like streams of it, but I wasn't impressed. I don't know. Prussian man, what is your favorite empire? I would probably say the Empire of Japan. Either that or the Germans. The German Empire is pretty cool. Let's see. Lex the Graceful Rival would say, if you could redraw any borders, what borders would you change? Ooh. I'd probably take a look at the Middle East. Probably. Let's see. Favorite Yugoslav country? I don't really have one. What do you know about Hungarian politics? A little bit. A little bit. What do you know about Romanian music? Nothing, really. Opinion on Frederick the Great? He was beast. What is your opinion on the European migrant crisis? I think it's a tragedy. But, I mean, I don't have necessarily any real opinion. I wish there wasn't a migrant crisis. I wish people could stay in their own countries. Like, all these people leaving, you know, Tunisia, Libya, the Middle East is because of the shit that's going on in the Middle East. I wish that wasn't the case, but that's what it is. Let's see. Carlson Sai says Greece versus Turkey is too much of a commercial block between the Black Sea, Mediterranean, so it will be Russia, Italy, Spain, France, Blackberry Sea, and between the Blackberry Sea. Yeah, dude. There's no way Greece and Turkey can go to war, man. No way. They're too important. You know, the Strait of Marmara is too important. The Black Sea is too important to let any war happen. How different do you think the world would be if the Byzantines didn't collapse in 1453? Well, when the Ottomans conquered Constantinople, they claimed to be the successor to Rome. I would say if the Byzantines didn't fall and the Ottomans could not claim that, there'd be some different shit. There's something, you know, things would be different. Maybe the Ottomans wouldn't be have conquered as much as they did. See, John says, do you think that there won't be a global scale war in this century? No, there almost certainly will be. There almost certainly will be a war, for sure. Can't say how it's going to happen or when, but there will be one. Trust me. in our lifetime. Opinion on Otto von Bismarck. He's fucking awesome. He's actually one of my idols. What is Kosovo? It's a good question. See, Khan plays, if anything, America's going to invade another Middle Eastern oil country. No way, man. The domestic situation just wouldn't allow for it. No way. There'd have to be a really good reason to do so. Let's see, what ancient historical nation would you bring back? I don't know. The Roman Empire, maybe. Let's see, Koros inside. Do you think the war between the Iran and the Saudis will evolve from a proxy war? Maybe. Maybe. Because Iran is backed by the Russians and we back the Saudis. So if it was a Cold War to a hot war, it'd be interesting. Have you ever been to Greece? No. Let's see, how about Asia? India versus Pakistan versus Bangladesh, and China wishes India. There's going to be a major fight in India, basically. India versus Pakistan versus Bangladesh could happen. Let's see, what are your thoughts on Huey Long? He sounds familiar. I think he was, oh, the governor of Louisiana? Oh, yeah. Issue supporter. Every man a king. Oh, that's right. Yeah, he ran for president in 1936 because he didn't think, that's right. Yeah, he didn't think that the New Deal went far enough. Yeah, he seems pretty cool. I like FDR though. FDR is like pretty cool. Let's see, Yunnan Malwed. What is a new country you see forming in the next 25 years? If the Kurds can win against Turkey and Iraq, Kurdistan, you'll probably see, most likely. Who would win, Brazil versus Argentina? Brazil all the way. We're getting pretty far now. Holy shit. Let's see. Do you think, American Zog, do you think that political parties shouldn't exist? No, I think political parties, well, depends, because there are countries in the world where it's illegal to be a part of a political party, you know? Like Saudi Arabia, for instance. You can't be part of a political party. You can run for office and stuff, but you can't actually have a party organization. At least in democracies and constitutional governments, political parties serve very, very important functions for people voting and, you know, like getting knowledgeable about issues. Political parties serve those kinds of purposes, and it fosters democratic debate. It fosters partisanship too, but the thing is when you get rid of political parties, basically everybody stops participating in government is usually what happens. Because they don't know who to vote for, they don't know how to participate in government, and they simply don't care, you know? Let's see. Why in EU4 Lithuania does not gain much money? Because the territory is very, very poor. Lithuania is big, but all the territory is like really, really poor territory. It's like 3 development each. Let's see. Kiss says, do you think California has turned into a liberal hellhole? Not really, no. Let's see. Sijic says, do you think nationalism has the same tendency to rise and fall like crises and prosperity times do? That's a good question, actually, because I would actually argue that it does. We've kind of, in political science, we've studied things like nationalism, and we've determined nationalism as a concept has been around for a very, very long time, but it really took off after the French Revolution. And we've kind of found that, yes, there is this kind of cycle of nationalism, is that there's usually times of economic recession, times where, you know, people can't find jobs or there's some sort of diplomatic crisis, that nationalism will kind of ramp up pretty quickly. And then usually when people are relatively well off, they like the government to stay out of their affairs, you know? So when you have jobs and you're doing okay, you don't You know, you're not too much of a nationalist. You know, sometimes you'll find like extremes are always nationalist, consistently nationalist, or on the other hand, you'll find extremes where people are consistently anti-nationalist. So like usually if you're like a communist or like a super hard socialist, you're against nationalism. You don't like nationalism. You like more like internationalism. Whereas if you're like a fascist or something like that, you're always nationalist about literally everything in life. So usually people are right in the middle, but they'll shift one way or another every now and again. See, my history teacher told us the first successful UN mission was at the end of the Yugoslav wars or returning the Serbian-controlled territory west of the Danube to Croatia. Before that, nothing was successful. Is that correct? And what would you change about the bureaucracy of the United Nations and their efficiency? I fucking hate the UN. I would get rid of the UN if I could. That's not true. The UN actually, one of the first actions they took was actually intervening in the Korean War in 1950. In Korea, it wasn't actually the United States that was strictly against the North Koreans. It was actually the United Nations. The United Nations actually sanctioned military intervention through the Security Council and everything to fight the Koreans. How they did this is that the USSR boycotted the United Nations during that time. And you got to remember that China, one of the nations on the UN Security Council, one of the permanent members, was controlled by the Republic of Taiwan. They had moved to Taiwan in 1949, so Chiang Kai-shek and the nationalists, the Kuomintang, they were the ones represented in the United Nations in 1950. And so the United Nations Security Council, which was Britain, France, the US, China, I think India might be in it. No, I'm not sure if actually Germany was there at that time. Yeah, they voted for military intervention. So the Korean War was the first successful UN intervention. See, Mert Kinsey says, Adrian, the older I get, the less I like democracies. What's your opinion? It doesn't surprise me. A lot of older folks don't like, you know, young voters and crap like that as much. It depends on where you are though. Like, especially here in the United States, the older voters, a lot of older people are very, very extreme in their political views. You know, like there's even people around here that live around here near me, super, super extreme conservative. You know, we're talking like Korea era conservatives and shit like that, you know. So Debris says, are you gonna do an EU4 colonizing campaign with Random New World? No. Jan the Potato says, do you think the European Union will fall apart? No. I think Germany's probably too strong for that. Your idea, let's see, Jason Adams says, your idea for the goal of the United States, world dominion. Let's see, Alex20CM says, what is your opinion about anti-feminist YouTubers? I don't really have one. I don't know. I mean, you could be feminist, you could be anti-feminist. That's fine. It's whatever. Let's see. Danius Grigas, opinion of Lithuania. They were much more important in history than they are now. Prussian man, favorite historical battle. Oh, that's a hard one. It's between Stalingrad or I don't know. I like Stalingrad. The Battle of Iwo Jima and Okinawa are pretty cool to study. Kuma25, thoughts on Kaiserreich? I don't play Hearts of Iron 4. Yeah. Max S says, do you think that monarchies are a good thing? Yeah, they're not bad. They're fine. Ooh, this is a good one. Taft and Nerd Film says, do you think that China will overtake the United States? Possibly. Possibly. They don't have the Navy for it right now, but, and everything else, but they're doing pretty good. Yeah. Let's see. Livingston says, do you have any dating tips? Surprise. Use surprises. Like, I went on a date. When the fuck was this? Last week, right? Last week on Saturday, I went on a date with a chick, and I brought her flowers. Now, I could have picked something like roses. Roses are like, you know, the nice red roses, right? They're like Valentine's Day flowers. But I thought that'd be too serious, so I brought her tulips instead. I brought her yellow tulips. And dude, that surprised the shit out of her because she wasn't expecting flowers. So that's the way into a girl's heart, is surprise. The best surprise, or the best prize is a surprise. Let's see. Alex Sim says, do you think Trump will eventually cause World War III? Possibly. Opinion about Greece? I don't really have one. Opinion about Mussolini? He was a moron. Simon Saliv says, do you think relations between Russia and the US will ever get better? Probably not. Russia right now, especially under Putin, is a thoroughly authoritarian country, whereas the United States is not. At least, not yet. Fuck. So probably not. They're fundamentally, you got to remember, alliances are temporary. National interests are permanent. Russia and the United States have permanent national interests that cannot be reconciled. Things like relations and alliances and stuff like that are temporary. They're just for now. They don't exist forever. Yunan Mawed says, if you can live in a different country in a different time, when would it be? I would love to be in France during the French Revolution. Favorite Republican constitution? The United States, obviously. Let's see. Alex Seam says, who would win a war? Who would win in a war between Hungary and Romania? Romania, probably. They're much more large. They have a lot more people. Favorite strategy game? Probably Victoria 2 or StarCraft. Favorite Enlightenment philosophers? I love Francis Bacon, Rousseau. Locke's pretty cool. I love Voltaire. Voltaire is really funny. Think Trump will actually build a wall? I don't know. Maybe. He's supposedly starting to construct it. He got money from Congress a couple weeks ago. He got money from Congress. He got like $11 billion to build a wall or some shit. What's your opinion on it? I don't really have an opinion on it. I mean, my dad is actually technically an immigrant from Mexico. He came over here. A lot of his family and stuff came over here too. But he came over here legally, so he didn't come over here illegally. So I don't know. I don't really have an opinion on it. Fuck it. I think Trump's a moron. I think you could spend that money elsewhere. Let's see. Sijic says, to put the coalition mechanic at EU4 into a historic event, why was there no backlash from Lithuania conquering so much land of the Rus? Well, a lot of that land was taken from the Great Horde. And even then, like, especially in that time, there really was no idea of a coalition. They're like, the coalition mechanic in U4 is actually really misplaced. There really was no sort of sense of a balance of power or of a coalition until like the 1600s. The coalition mechanic really should not exist in EU4 in my personal opinion. See, Adrian, have you heard about the Slovakian and Czech anti-government tensions? I have. Slovakia is facing brutal corruption and Czechs are split 50-50 on the matter. Yeah. Taft and Nerd Films. What voting system is the best? First past the post or something else? I actually like proportional representation myself. Lex says, are you an anime fan? I like some anime, like Inuyasha. I watched a lot of Inuyasha when I was a kid. DBZ. I mean, if you count that as anime necessarily, but... Let's see. Random New Worlds. I think it's kind of cool since the 1.14 patch. I've never really seen a reason to use it. I don't know. Random New World. I think it's kind of lackluster. I don't know. Let's see. Patrick Blake, would you support a more authoritarian government? Yes. Can I play as the Ottomans in EU4? We've already played as the Ottomans, dude. I told you. Let's see. How can I donate? You can donate by the super chat. I think it's down below. Check the chat. There's like a little button. Let's see. Jomp says, what do you think would have happened if the United States conquered 7 more parts of the Mexican Empire? Well, they're actually originally the United States was going to take over all of Mexico down to Central America. That was originally the goal, but eventually Congress decided not to do it because a lot of people in Mexico at the time during the Mexican-American War were Catholic and illiterate. And so the United States felt, probably not the best idea to take over those people. So Lex the Graceful Rival, what do you think is the biggest problem facing the world? Probably climate change, maybe. Or, you know what? Actually, maybe oil. Like energy sources, probably. Let's see. Your ideal global country. Unitary parliamentary democracy. Yeah. That's like the ideal. I guess you would say. Like, if it has to be democratic. If it doesn't have to be democratic, then like fascist, like all the way. Totally. Like Nazi status. American Zog, opinion on libertarianism. I'm a strong government guy myself, so I'm not necessarily a libertarian, but I can see where, like, why people like libertarianism. I can see that. I'm not one of the anarcho-liberals myself, though. I'm not. Let's see. Alex 20CM, opinion about Legend of Total War. He's actually a pretty cool guy. He's got some serious balls. I love that guy. I don't watch him, but I've actually talked to him on Discord a few times. He's really cool. Yunan Mawed, do you think an internal uprising in China or North Korea is possible? No. Thoughts on Hegel? He's cool. Let's see. What do you think about the Fallout series? Which game is your favorite? Would you play it on your channel? I probably like Fallout 3 or New Vegas the best. I bought Fallout 4 and I thought it was hella boring, so I don't play it anymore. So Fallout 4, I stopped playing Fallout 4 pretty quick. Oh shit. Oh shit. 5 interesting EU4 countries. Japan, France, Scotland's pretty cool. Scotland's pretty fun. Let's see. Kuma25 says, how often do you get into heated political debates? If so, which are the most controversial topics? I don't actually get into debates, man. The thing is, for me, is like, debates are for like journalists and shit, or like talk show hosts. In the real world, if you're in the field of law or in the field of politics, you don't get into debates. You know, you don't debate people. You have facts, you have history to back you up, and you just have certain positions that you can back up with your facts. That's what it is. People don't debate shit, you know? I'm much more of like a compromise sort of guy. I can see a lot of different angles and a lot of different viewpoints and perspectives, primarily because I've studied history so much, you know? Like, I'm not some hard, staunch ass, like, you know, Democrat. I'm not like some fascist, authoritarian, you know, totalitarian or some shit like that. You know, I see a lot of different perspectives, and so I'm much more of like a compromise kind of person, you know. Let's see, Lex says, why do you think that both in the real world and EU4, European and Chinese nations usually avoid colonizing Siberia? It's very inhospitable. It's very cold. It's very, very cold. Let's see, Prussian Man says, favorite Arab country? I would say Iraq under Saddam Hussein. Paula says, Adrian and I. Yes. Mayor G. Otak says, why are you such a fan of authoritarianism? Because it's cool. What's your opinion on Ben Shapiro? Who the hell's that? Thoughts on Berlusconi? Why does Ben Shapiro sound familiar? Is he an alt-right dude? Oh, yeah, he is. He's an alt-right dude. Oh, fuck that guy. Berlusconi. That sounds familiar, too. Oh, dude, yeah, dude. Berlusconi, the Prime Minister of Italy. That's funny. Or the 50th Prime Minister of Italy. That's funny, yeah. He's a funny guy. I've heard a lot about him. That's funny. Let's see. Bookboy says, do you think renewable energy is the future of the energy market? Yes, most likely. Yeah. When do you think Victoria 3 will be released? It's going to be a while. Should the United States burn its trash for energy like Sweden? Maybe. We have a lot of trash here, though. I'm not even sure you could burn trash fast enough, to be honest. Let's see. Lex the Graceful. What is the most overrated countries in the world? China. Are you a gangster? I wish. American Zog. Opinion on YouTube as a company. I think they're kind of like a behemoth. You know, they're very bloated, I would say. Let's see. Paolo says, how would you compromise the Israeli-Palestinian conflict or the Iranian-Saudi situation? Well, I mean, like, the Iranians are backing the Houthis in Yemen, and then the Saudis are backing themselves, I guess. So there's not much of a way to compromise that one, because the Saudis and the the Iranians, they have their own interests that you can't compromise. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict, I would probably do, I don't know. The thing is with Israel right now is that they don't give Arab Muslims full citizenship. I think if they did and they allowed them to vote, we'd be better off. Or they'd be better off, I guess. But yeah. I'm not sure if we could do like a two-state solution. I don't know. Like, Republic of Palestine, State of Israel. I'm not sure if we could do that. I think there would always be a problem with war. Let's see. Bookboy says, do you hate Jews? No. Let's see. Kuma25 says, what is the best way to deal with corruption in real life? Well, I've studied corruption in totalitarian and authoritarian regimes. And the thing is with authoritarian regimes, like dictators and shit, there's a lot of corruption, right? You give money to your friends and you give them political offices and they're loyal to you and they do what you want. The thing is in totalitarian regimes, specifically in the Soviet Union and in Nazi Germany, there was less corruption. There's not as much corruption because of ideology. Is that if you make people ideological, if you brainwash them with propaganda in their head and you can control them with ideology, generally they're actually not really that corrupt. This particularly took place in the German Wehrmacht, the German army during World War II. Was a lot of the regular people, the conscripts, the officers, all sorts of stuff. They really were pretty ideological. They were staunch German nationalists and they supported the government a lot. And so there wasn't that much corruption. They would obey orders for the most part. They were good soldiers. They were highly motivated, well-trained, well-equipped. And so the best way to deal with corruption usually is with ideologies. If you brainwash people and you have a lot of propaganda that your cause is correct, your cause is right, generally you don't have to worry about them betraying you or being corrupt for themselves. But, I mean, money talks, Let's see, Tenkoya217 donated £5. Thank you very much. Thanks to the stream. It's been interesting to hear your opinions on such a very illicit topics. No problem, man. No problem. Livingston says, what do you think about nuclear energy? I don't mind it. It's fun. It's cool. Kuro Sensei, do you think a Berlin-Moscow axis would have won World War II? Yes. Opinion on 2020 candidates? Probably Bernie Sanders. Opinion on the chairman of China doing that policy that granted him power till death. Oh yeah, that's right. He rules for life, huh? This might sound kind of weird, but I'm actually not really against a president for life. In fact, the first draft of the United States Constitution submitted by Alexander Hamilton, he submitted a draft or an amendment to the United States Constitution that would have had a president serve for life. I'm not against it, so. Do you think we will ever reach another solar system? Maybe. Maybe. Let's see. L.Hoda says, what microphone do you use? RE320. What's the next country to form or split in Europe? That's a good question right there. I want to say maybe something in the Ukraine. A lot of Ukrainians like Russia, whereas the main Ukrainian government doesn't. That'd be interesting. Let's see, Jason Adams says, biggest political threat in North America. Donald Trump. Patrick Blake, thoughts on the recent elections in Europe? I haven't read about the recent elections. Do you mean like Brexit? Or what do you mean? Let's see. Max S, opinion on the conflict between Russia and the Ukraine? It's pretty interesting, actually, because a lot of people say that the Ukrainians are very, very, like, fascistic. They're, like, Nazi-ish, and the Russians are very, very authoritarian and, like, communist. Because Putin's basically communist in all but name, to be honest. So it's very interesting. You have this situation where it's like you're talking about an authoritarian Russia versus what at least appears on the outside to be like a pretty Nazi-ish kind of Ukraine, like really staunch ultra-nationalist Ukrainians and things like that. It's interesting. I don't know. I'd have to do a little bit more research, but. Let's see, Vicenic says, do you think the EU members will leave NATO? I don't think so. I think NATO needs the U.S. more than the U.S. needs NATO. So I don't think anybody would be willing to leave. Let's see. If you could change history and make any non-colonizing country into a colonial empire, which country would you make it? Byzantium, Venice, Poland, and China. That'd be interesting. If Rome was still around and Columbus discovered America, that'd be curious. Let's see. If the whites won the Russian Civil War, do you think it would be a totalitarian, heavily militarized country? Probably not, no. It would actually probably be very much better off now, I think. As a genuine parliamentary democracy in Russia, if the whites won the Russian Civil War, probably they'd be pretty democratic, I would say. Opinion on Elon Musk, I think he's a genius. Let's see, Kuma25. If you started your own royal house in real life, how would you name it? Well, my last name is Lopez, so technically it'd have to be Lopez. That's the point of a dynasty, right? I'm not sure if there actually is a house of Lopez. Technically it'd have to be Lopez, I guess. Let's see. What if Great Britain kept its colonies and was the third superpower in the Cold War? Now, it's interesting you mention that, actually, because up until the 1956 Suez Crisis, that's actually exactly what Great Britain wanted to do, is they wanted to maintain the empire. I mean, if it was me, I would align I would align British Empire. If it was me at that time, I would have said the British Empire and the United States and NATO versus Russia. That's what I would have done. That's just me, though. I think if the British Empire was still around and the British Empire was an ally of the United States, we'd be much better off in the world, I think. That's just me. Let's see, what do I think about Victor Orban? I don't really know who that is. Let's see, L. Hoda, in which place would you spend your last days of life? That's a good one. I'm not sure. Back in my hometown, there's a mountain called Mount Diablo. It's a Devil's Mountain. It's a really nice mountain. Probably that's where I would be. Just like a little shack or something on Mount Diablo, just chilling. It'd be cool. Let's see. What is your opinion about the Macedonian name dispute? Now, that's a hard one because it's kind of hard to claim that Macedonia is Slavic. The Slavic migration didn't occur. The Slavic migration didn't occur until well after, Macedon had existed, right? I mean, Macedonians and Macedon has always been sort of Greek-ish, even Greeks saw Macedonians as culturally different. So, I don't know. I mean, the Slavs have not been in Macedonia as long as people think. The Greeks have been there much longer, so I don't know. That's just a name. Let's see. Lex the Graceful Rival says, if you were given the power to combine any countries together, which countries would you combine? Britain, France. Let's see. Is Elon Musk advancing humanity? I think he is. Yeah, I think he is. Let's see. Livingston says parliamentary versus presidential democracies. I like parliamentary democracies myself. I think parliamentarianism is pretty cool. Let's see. What's your opinion on the Italian elections? I don't really have too much. Don't really have too much of an opinion. I know that Berlusconi is kind of a... He's kind of a celebrity. Let's just leave it at that. Simon Salave says, what is your opinion on the gun debate? I mean, I don't mind guns. Then again, I like conscripted armies. So my reasoning is that you can have a gun as long as you have military training. And if you have to be conscripted to get military training to have a gun, fine. That's fine. I think just having a gun just because is, fine, whatever. I guess, I don't know. It's very much only a recent debate though, like specifically the Second Amendment says, a well-regulated militia being vital to the security and independence of a free state, the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. So it has a collective, kind of connotation to it. In 2008, and in the Heller decision by the Supreme Court of the United States, having firearms was seen as a fundamental right, which I don't know if that's true, as a fundamental individual right. I don't know if I agree with that one, but whatever. Let's see. My web says, who would you want to see? Wanted to see president of the United States in 2016? Bernie. Kuma25 says, if you were a deity, what would you represent? Coffee. Let's see. Do you think Ukraine will be split up in the east half annexed and sphered by Russia and the west joined NATO or the EU? That's a hard one because that's a lot of territory you're talking about. That's millions of people. That's thousands of kilometers of land you're talking about. I don't think anybody would willingly let Russia take half the country. No way. It would have to be like a civil war on enormous proportions for something like that to happen. I mean, you can see that shit from space, man. Let's see. Other than Napoleon and Hitler choosing to attack Russia, what do you think were the dumbest decisions in history? Well, Hitler attacking Russia was not necessarily foolish. I would, in hindsight's always 2020. He almost won. He almost fucking did it. We're talking 3.4 million men invaded a border of 3,000 kilometers from Scandinavia to Crimea. He almost fucking won. Let's give him that. Napoleon was foolish though. 600,000 men, no way was enough to invade Russia. But Hitler almost did it. Some of the dumbest decisions in history. Italy joining World War II when they did. Yep. Italy joining World War II. In fact, when Italy declared war on France and the British Empire in 1940, or was it 1940 or 1941? I think it was 1940. When Italy declared war, 50% of the Italian merchant marine was in foreign ports. Mussolini didn't tell anybody that he was going to declare war. Let's see. Templar Baron says, do you think another Yugoslavia would be possible? Probably not. Especially with the Yugoslav wars in so recent memory. I mean, there are people who remember that shit. No way. Which do you like the best? Alexander the Great, Napoleon, Julius Caesar, or Hannibal? Oh, dude, Alexander is probably there for me. Let's see, Livingston, best movie. Probably the best movie I think I've ever seen would be. It's a movie called Barton Fink by Joel Cohen and Ethan Cohen. It's a fantastic film. Fuck, I need to watch it again. My favorite movie to watch though is probably The Dark Knight or The Prestige by Christopher Nolan. The Dark Knight's 2008, and then The Prestige is 2006. I love those movies. I could watch those movies all day. Let's see, between Jill Stein and Gary Johnson, who would you vote for? Probably Jill Stein, I guess. Let's see. Magno says, how do you think the Central Powers could have won World War I if they attacked Russia earlier? I think if on the Western Front, the Germans played defensively, instead of trying to attack so early on the war and focused on Russia, knocking out Russia would have done it. The British and the French would not have been able to maintain that kind of pressure. Because their populations were just fundamentally much smaller than Germany and Austria-Hungary. So Italy, Britain, and France would have exhausted themselves conducting offensive operations. If Russia was knocked out first by like 1915 or so, the Germans would have probably done it. Let's see. I got a question. What do you think about the slaughter of the Aztecs when the Spanish started colonization of Mexico? Define slaughter, because there wasn't necessarily slaughter at all, in fact. Disease mostly destroyed the Aztec Empire before the Spanish arrived. In fact, when Cortez landed in Mexico to start the conquest of the Aztec Empire, some of the cities that he saw, like, Tenochtitlan, the capital city of the Aztec Empire, were by far the largest cities that they outranked even the populations of Europe, right? They were enormous cities. We're talking like 500,000, 1 million people living in Tenochtitlan. The thing is the city and the empire were already hit by disease. You know, they were already depopulated. And yet Cortez was still flabbergasted by the amount of people and the amount of wealth that these cities contained. So really, when he was there conquering the Aztec Empire, he was conquering a vast empire that already was depopulated by disease. And still, the city outranked any city that existed in all of Europe. Paris, Vienna, you name it, Prague, you know? So to say that there was a slaughter of Indians is really inaccurate. It's not really true. That's just kind of a historiographical thing that people try and twist, but really there was no concerted genocide of anybody. It was just disease. You know, it was just disease. Because you got to remember that the Spaniards landed in 1492. They landed in the Dominican Republic on the island of Hispaniola. And disease obviously carried its way into Central America, into Mexico, down into South America, you know, especially in like Peru, places like that were affected by disease. The thing is there really is not a lot of evidence to suggest that the Spaniards knew exactly what was happening. They heard stories of just villages dying to disease, people with smallpox, you know, just by the hundreds of thousands dying, but they didn't exactly understand why. They just heard stories of it, you know. There was no real genocide of Indians that occurred in any of this shit, you know, in the colonization of the Americas. It's just that's just a narrative people say. It's not true. Disease that just happened was not something purposeful, you know. See, Templar Baron says about the gun thing, instead of selling high ammo capacity guns with the capability to be modified for full auto fire, why not sell bolt action rifles instead? Well, I mean, that's not even really the problem, right? It's just having guns in general. You can't really buy a high capacity firearm here anyway. I mean, like, at least not where I am in California. Like, we on our rifles usually, like, I could go to the store right now. I could probably buy, you know, an M16 rifle. It's only going to have a 10-round magazine, right? And the receivers are different, so you can't modify the trigger control group to have, you know, a semi-automatic fire into a full automatic fire M16 receiver, you know, because you can't get your hands on a fully automatic M16 fire control group. They're not sold commercially, right? You'd have to probably talk to somebody in the army to get one of those. And even then, a lot of like M4s and M16s and shit are not full auto. You know, they actually there's versions of the M16s and the M4s and stuff that are only 3-round burst or semi-auto. They're not really full auto. It's kind of hard to find one of those. To find one of those control groups. Let's see. Do you think that most of the world is becoming unimaginative and less innovative, thus technology will advance less, and that will be the human's demise? Well, innovativeness is not necessarily the same thing as the advancement of technology. The more scientific you are, the more acute you become with like computers, processors, cars, all that kind of stuff. Technology will advance. But innovativeness and imagination has to do with the arts, you know, theories, liberal arts, the humanities, psychology, advancements in political science, social science, sociology, things that don't necessarily involve numbers or even necessarily practical engineering. I think there is a bit of a lack of that, I would say, you know. Like me, like I'm a political scientist. I study history and I study politics, you know. That's what I do. I study the law. You know, that's what I do. I'm not bad with numbers. I mean, I know accounting and things like that, you know, basic numbers and, you know, personal finance, financial independence, retirement. I know about all that shit. But can I tell you about chemistry or biology or something? Nah, I can't, to be honest. Does that really affect me? No, not really. Let's see. From experience, what countries have the craziest EU4 players and fans? The Ottomans and Byzantium. Let's see. Livingstone says, is YouTubing your main job? And if yeah, how is it? No, it's not. It is actually only a part-time job. I would love for it to be my main job, but I don't make enough money for it. I work on my university campus, and then I go to school full-time. That's my job. Magnos says, favorite tank? Panzerkampfwagen 4. Kiss says, do you think the AI will eventually take over the world? Maybe. Let's see. Lex says, what countries do you think will fall apart in the future? My bets are on Spain and Italy. Spain, maybe. Italy, I don't think so. Not gonna lie, with the whole Scottish independence thing, Britain might be up there. Possibly the United States as well. Yeah, possibly the United States as well, actually. I don't want to get any like into conspiracy theories, but we've done a lot of studies that suggest that the likelihood of civil war in the United States is rising quite rapidly. Do you think the British Empire would have been able to get most of the American country? What do you mean? Thoughts that Pablo Escobar won the Colombian election? Do you support any sports teams? I don't like sports. Do you have any hopes for this channel to grow? Yeah, it's growing really, really well, actually. We just passed 15,000 subscribers. Yeah, no, it's progressing. We're growing quite quickly. Patrick Blake, which historically correct war movies would you recommend? The Last Samurai, Saving Private Ryan. There's a movie called Flags. Oh no, Letters from Iwo Jima. Letters from Iwo Jima. It's 2006 by Clint Eastwood. Any others? Those are probably the three I would recommend the most. Yeah, those are probably the three I would recommend the most. Let's see, American Zog. Thoughts on the whole Northern Ireland thing? I don't really have too much of a thought on it. I mean, if for some reason the people in Northern Ireland wanted to be part of Ireland, that's fine. But if they don't, then that's fine too, I guess. You know, they have the right to have what they want, I guess. See, CDM mapping says, I think the first country nations to explode in the Middle East will be in the Middle East. I actually don't think so. Especially nowadays with Turkey. Syria, you could say might fall apart, and a lot of people would just kind of pick parts of it. But, I mean, Syria is backed by Russia, you know, so... And then Bashar al-Assad, he's an authoritarian son of a bitch. There's a lot of countries in the Middle East right now that are increasingly becoming authoritarian. Even like Iraq, right? Iraq is supposedly democratic, but they have a very, very large, and now they have an experienced army that's fighting for the republic. You know, there's not much chance of just a sudden collapse. It would have to be much more prolonged, much more along the lines of like a prolonged civil war, you know? Let's see, what would be your superpower? The US. Let's see, Templar Baron says, do you think if Britain retained control of the United States, would it be better off for the people living in America? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I like parliamentary democracy. I do. I think parliamentary democracy is better than, you know, presidential democracies. But to say, like, would it be better? Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Jason Adams says, thoughts on Sparta? I like Sparta. I do, actually. I like Sparta. Our Lambda actually comes from Sparta. You know, on my Adrian Gaming logo. That Lambda's from Sparta. I like Sparta. Mary C says, do you think the states in the United States would become separate countries if the United States collapsed? It's a possibility. It's a possibility. It's not out of the realm of possibility. Say, Book Boy says, favorite empire in history, the Empire of Japan. Did I see Dunkirk? I did not. I did not. What's your favorite alt history? I'm not really much of a big alt history guy, to be honest. Let's see, Frosty Salad. Italy is very divided. People of South Italy can barely understand people who live in the north, and Veneto wants independence. Yeah, the whole north-south divide is pretty interesting. But there's no way in hell that after so long of Italy being united that anybody's going to allow anybody to break away. Like, say if Naples and Sicily wanted to declare independence, civil war, dude, I'm telling you right now. Italians will kill Italians. Some politician described current America as the Weimar America and compared it to the Weimar Germany. Do you agree? Weimar America. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. There's the, you know, like if he's trying to say like a republic that's decaying and dying, might be true, but not in the sense of like Weimar Germany. The thing is with Germany is there was no tradition of democracy. That's the thing. The United States has a vibrant tradition of democracy. It's all we've ever been, you know. So Weimar Germany is not the same thing as America. Weimar Germany was very, very new and it collapsed because there was no precedent for democracy. And people like Adolf Hitler and, you know, Hindenburg were able to use that to their advantage. Let's see, American Zog, should the government fund space exploration? Yeah, sure. I don't know. Let's see, Yunnan Malwed, what if Egypt remained Coptic? I mean, there's a lot of Coptic people there now. The thing is that the Middle East should have been one country as the United Kingdom under the Hashemites and not divided by Britain and France's mandates. Well, I mean, the Ottoman Empire was, you know, trying to present itself as, I mean, they were technically a Sunni caliphate. You know, the Ottoman Empire controlled all of the Middle East for a while, and they didn't do very well. You know, a lot of people were fundamentally still, you know, very separatist. Let's see, Book Boy, thoughts on coalition governments? I like proportional representation and I like parliamentary democracy, so I don't mind. I don't mind. Yeah, I don't mind coalition governments. Let's see. Do you think a dictatorship can be justified or good for a country if it's eventually returned to a democratic state? Yeah, I mean, I think dictatorship in general, as long as you have wise policies, dictatorship in general is actually pretty good. You don't necessarily have to be democratic to have a well-run country. You know, many monarchies are like this, right? There's plenty of history that autocratic monarchical governments or dictatorships could be run quite well when, you know, where there was, you know, trusted advisors, hopefully not, you know, terrible taxation, but taxation for sure, you know. Yeah, autocratic government and dictatorships and stuff are not inherently bad, you know. Let's see, Templar Baron, thoughts on the legalization of weed for recreational purposes in California? I don't mind it. It's fine. I mean, I've smoked weed before. It's fine. It's whatever. I don't buy it. I'm too broke to buy it, but, you know, it's whatever. Let's see, Paulo says, do you think Great Britain would be better off if King George III wasn't insane? I mean, Great Britain did still oppose, you know, Great Britain did oppose Napoleon during the Napoleonic Wars and the French Republic and stuff. They did pretty good, you know, so I don't know. I'm not sure. Let's see, Jason Adams says, thoughts about the rise of imperialism and the support of the emperor in Japan? I think they are good. I like the Empire of Japan, and I think imperialism is not inherently bad, but some people might. Oh, Kuma25 says, by superpower, I mean, what would be your superpower if you were a superhero? I'm not sure. Jump says, do you hate communism? Yes. See, Templar Baron says, no democratic tradition in Germany. What about the Prussians wanting a constitutional monarchy? Are you kidding me, man? Dude, the Prussians and the constitutional monarchy was just a sham, man. It's not, the emperor had absolute power, you know? I mean, yeah, the only thing about the Prussian constitutional monarchy was that it was a federal constitutional monarchy, was that there was the Kingdom of Prussia and the Prussian government, and then everybody else was allowed to have their own governments. If you could call that democratic, then okay. But for the most part, the Emperor of Germany was very, very authoritarian. And the people themselves and the government, and especially with German nationalism and German militarism, the country was highly militarized, right? The industry, the Junkers, right? The Junkers, very much like the Zaibatsus of the Empire of Japan. The Junkers and the Junker families who manufactured all the firearms, you know, who owned the steel mills, who owned the coal foundries, you know, the artillery plants, the Junkers, the monarchy, and the army were just central to Germany. You know, those three pillars came together, and that's what kept the country together, especially during, you know, World War I, especially during the earlier crises during the 1900s, you know. Yeah. So as far as like a parliamentary or Republican democratic tradition, there was none in Germany. No way. See, Frosty Salad says, "Do you think Puerto Rico should become a state?" I don't really have an opinion on the matter. Sure, why not? Thoughts on Cincinnatus and his dictatorship? He's cool. Let's see. Merck says thoughts on federations. I'm not much of a federal guy. I like unitary systems better. You know, I like unitary systems. Let's see. Lex says many ideologies dominated the political world throughout time. Is there any ideology that you think will dominate the political world in the future? Well, that depends, because I mean, like, what do you mean dominated? You say dominated the political world, but the political world of like the Western Hemisphere is not the same thing as the political world of like Europe. You know, so for instance, during World War II, a lot of North American countries like the United States, Canada were democratic, you know, and to a certain extent, sort of kind of Mexico. But in the South, in the Southern, you know, Southern America, South America, there were many dictatorships, right? Juan Domingo Perón, Getulio Vargas of Brazil, a lot of small countries like, you know, Uruguay, Paraguay, you know, Ecuador, Colombia, they were not democratic at all. And a lot of those countries were, you know, conservative and authoritarian. So depends on what you mean by ideology. Let's see. Lex says, are there any countries you want to visit? Japan, Germany, Britain, Canada. Let's see. Paolo says, did you ever imagine yourself talking to a screen with around 40 people watching you answering their questions? Yeah, that's what a Q&A is, isn't it? Lex says, a music you listen to, alternative rock, alternative metal. Opinion on Hitler's cult of personality? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Hitler was a cool guy, but the thing is with cults of personality is that they, you know, they blind you a little bit. They don't, you know, they obscure the facts and they obscure the truth, you know. So you can like somebody, but you need to be able to criticize that person at the same time. You need to be able to see what it is that they're doing wrong, even if they're your Führer, you know. Templar Baron, do you think the unification of a democratic Korea is a plausible thing? No. No, I don't. At least not peacefully. Not peacefully. It would have to be definitely along military lines, because North Korea and the population is heavily brainwashed, heavily propagandized, heavily brainwashed. You can't just vote, oh, hey, we're going to take you guys in as our own country. No, it would have to be, there would have to be some sort of event that would permanently put to rest any sort of totalitarian sympathies in the people of North Korea. No matter how good democracy is, you can't brainwash people with democracy, you know? Let's see. Lex says, are there any countries that are judged too harshly by historians, in your opinion? I would say the Empire of Japan is one of them. The German Empire is another. Austria-Hungary is another, you know? Let's see. Lex, favorite books? Depends on what kind of books. Like fiction, a lot of political books. I love Alfred Thayer Mahan. He's pretty cool. Influence of Sea Power upon History. James Baldwin is one of my favorite authors. James Baldwin. See, Templar Baron, thoughts on the current Russian dictatorship? I think Putin, while I don't like, you know, his geostrategic expansion, I think Putin is a really good ruler. I think he's done pretty well for himself, all things considered. See, Jason Adams says, do you think the unification of North America would be possible under United States law? It would have to be forceful. Yeah. It would have to be forceful. Let's see, do you like the series of Vikings? I don't watch it. I heard of it, though. Who do you think is worse, Hitler or Stalin? Probably Stalin. Opinion of Xi Jinping and his government? I don't like communists, but he's a masterful politician. I'll give him that, dude. He's a fucking genius. He's a masterful politician. What do you think is the greatest empire to have ever existed? Probably the British. Yeah. Just like the things that the British Empire could do. God damn. Let's see, Putin or Xi Jinping? Fuck, I'd probably pick Xi Jinping over Putin. Ooh, what do you think would happen if Putin was to be assassinated? Russia would go ballistic. Russia would completely collapse. Holy shit. Yeah, pretty collapse. All right, guys, I think we're gonna wrap up the Q&A. It's been about 3 hours. Holy shit. It's been fun. It's been fun. Let me do these last two questions. Lex says, in the past, ideologies like fascism and communism can be very influential in the political world. Are there any ideologies that will reach that extent? I would say right now, fascism and progressivism are two ideologies that you should look at. Yeah, right now. They're very much opposed to each other, but that's kind of the point. You know, a lot of progressivism is kind of popping up in the world, and then at the same time, a lot of fascism is popping up as well. Nationalism is becoming stronger. Thoughts on universal healthcare? I love universal healthcare. Let's see, American Dog, at the current rate, would Trump win in 2020? Nope. All right, guys. I will see you around. Thank you so much for the Q&A. I will see you guys in the next video, in the next episode. So thank you so much for watching as always. And please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. I'll see you guys around.